Remember, you're the host. So when that guy says, here's your host, that's when you speak up, Grant.
All right, here we go, guys. We are now live.
Oh, share system sound. Can't hear it. This is CoCoTALK, the
Very good
world's
plate on the
leading
Coco.
live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. Streaming live on YouTube and Roku, available as a podcast, and enjoyed the world over. And now, here's your host.
Hello, day. I am Grant Leighty. I'm here hosting on behalf of Stevie. Stevie's taking a halfway day off. So I am going to be filling in for him for the duration of the show, but he is still here with us today. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Yay!
Yep, right.
Although I'm curious, Grant, you said that today you're Grant Leighty. So what are you on other days?
Greg.
Greg,
Okay.
or
Just checking.
Greg Brady. Who is that? Who is that shaggy
Yeah.
guy in the red shirt on the screen there?
There's a whole row of them in the middle. I don't know which one you're talking about.
Which one?
yeah.
The red shirt row. That's our theme. The red shirt row.
If you're on Star Trek, we'd be digging graves here right now.
All right. Well, today we have a panel here. It's like it's growing a little bit. Hey, Brian, how you doing?
That good.
Must be muted. All right, Stevie.
Oh,
how
I'm
you
doing
doing
just
today,
fine.
Steve?
Today, I'm Greg.
And we got Curtis here today. How
I'm
you doing today,
tired.
Curtis?
Work's starting to run me down, but we'll make it through.
What
4.
time did you go to bed last
4
night?
this morning.
Oh, that's nothing. I used to do that all the time in college, but I used to sleep until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, though.
He's not in college.
Hey,
Pretty
Ron,
good.
how you doing
We're
today?
doing good out here in Arizona. It's
it
always
hot?
hot. Even you wake up hot. Yes. Although we do have AC.
All right, and we have Coco Man. Jason, how you doing? Where are you at today?
Doing well. I am here. Well, I'm inside my van at the moment because it's raining outside, but I'm here at Jefferson Lake State Park. We're doing a little ham radio thing called Ohio State Parks on the Air, and as I like to call, live from the edge of the internet. This is about as far as my cell signal goes. If I walk towards the pavilion we're set up in, that's beyond the edge of the internet. There's nothing there.
Ah, yeah. You're a little sidelined too, a little bit there, just a little bit. All right. Well, thanks, Jason. David, how you doing today? You're two times in 2 weeks now.
And
You've been-
video.
No, I'm doing fine so far.
That's good. Are you from McDonald's or where are you from today?
I'm from a house where I'm dog sitting.
From an undisclosed location.
There he is, gone to the dogs.
What's that collection behind you?
Witness protection. And then we have Mark Overholzer. How you doing today?
I'm here.
How's the weather out there in
Cloudy.
Oregon?
Thinks it might be going to rain, and that's good because it really hasn't rained like maybe once in the last 65 days.
Yeah, that's good. Good. And then we got Brian. Brian, how you doing today?
Very good. How y'all doing?
Doing pretty good. And then from down under, we have Nick.
Hey,
you
not too
doing,
bad.
Nick?
Still upside down, but yeah, it's all right. All good.
Hanging around like a bat.
Hanging around like a bat. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're kind of going to free flow this show today. Stevie, do you want to take this over now?
Oh, I don't know if anybody has any project updates or acquisitions they want to go through first.
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, far away.
I just received the Coco 3 RGB to S video unit and installed it from Ed Snyder, and I'm quite impressed. It's really nice. It's going to be great for my video capturing needs. And
Yeah.
did have to make one minor modification to my Coco 3, but I believe that had to do with the timing issues with the 86 gimme. But it was very simple. I clipped the ends of two resistors and added a wire to the 1010 on the RGB port. So it was fairly easy, and I am fairly impressed. And if I looked at my tracking today, I should have my Boys in Tech 2 meg upgrade today also, but not home to see that yet.
Nice. Supporting the community.
Cool. Get ready to ship that off to Jim Brain for warranty repairs.
Well, I have to try to install it first before I can get warranty.
Thanks a lot, Jason. Hey, Nick, you had
Oh,
an
yeah,
update as
just
well?
been doing some more work on my Gunstar game, and it's at a point where now I'm preparing to update for the next, do an update for the next blog entry to explain what I've done. I think last week I showed it doing the title pages and the high score pages. So I've got all that working, added some more sound effects. So I'll probably won't show it today. I'll leave it as a surprise for when the blog entry comes up so people can see it there. But yeah, a fair bit of progress this week on that.
Stay tuned.
Stay
Excellent.
tuned.
Cool.
Excellent.
So it seems like there's going to be
Cool.
a few new games coming out over the next, within the next year. We got Paul Thayer and we got Hugo all working on some great looking games. So yeah, interesting
Don't forget
times.
Stevie's, which I'm sure he's going to update us
Oh
on.
yeah, that's right. Well,
Yeah,
Steve can talk about his,
it's not a great looking game, but it's a game.
No, it's a game. It's a good example of what people can do. You know, people who are not, say, programmers. Just goes to show you don't have to write a commercial game. I mean, look at what Steve's done. I mean, that's quite good, showing what can be done in BASIC even. So hopefully
Yeah, he's
that'll
got multi
encourage
levels. He's got music in it now. He's just cranking it along.
2-layer graphics to work.
2 layers, you name it.
Pushing the envelope on the Coco 3. Basic.
Paul Fitzgerald has some.
How's the creature? What do you guys call that? Creature
Feature creep?
Feature creep. Yeah.
Feature creep.
Creature
Thank you.
feet.
How's that coming along? Steve,
I
in
like
your
creature
game?
feet better.
Yeah, I like creature feet. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to creep in as many features as I can, one feature at a time. Just add a thing, tweak a thing, add a thing. So
Break
You-
something else.
break something.
You're unveiling it at some show this weekend, aren't you? Or?
Well, I was hoping to, but I'm not able to make it now to VCF, so I won't be able to. So maybe Tandy Assembly.
Do you have a representative that can show it off? Because there's some other
no.
Coco people going, right?
Yeah, I mean it's just the whole thing, and no, I mean I could, but there's a waiting list for tables. So since I can't make it, it's kind of selfish for me to
Oh, I
log a
see.
table that I'm not able to be. So I'm gonna let them know to make my table available. So yeah, so it's just gonna have to. So the public unveiling is gonna probably have to wait now until Tandy Assembly.
Okay, because I saw you did an update on Facebook today that you had some extra splash screen stuff, and you showed some of the music stuff you added in. And...
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to keep working on it. I mean, I was going towards a goal to have as many features thrown in to present to the public, but it's not going to stop me from continuing to work on it. You know.
Cool.
Yep.
Are you releasing that for beta?
I mean, I can. If somebody wants a copy, just let me know. I'll give you a copy of the disk image. When I feel that it's done, I would. Well, I've given you one in the past, but yeah, I'll put another one in there. But when I feel it's done, it will be on the website. I'll have a disk image that anybody can download. I am not planning on selling this version. It'll just
You can
be
throw
out.
it in free with a T-shirt or a coffee cup.
Yeah, no, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw it out there as a disk image, and people can download it. And like if somebody wants to PayPal me or something, they can. But that's kind of like what Paul Thayer did. You know, it's like you can have it for free, or if you want to send me money, you can. I actually had a couple ideas if I was going to be able to make it to VCF. I was going to make some floppies for the Tandy. Actually, I already have. I've made the floppies. I was going to put labels on the floppies and put them in baggies and stuff, and have some of the MS DOS ones to sell as a novelty item. So maybe I can do that at Tandy Assembly, and then I'll have the Tandy version for the Tandy 1000. Maybe by then I'll have a Coco version too that can be like on an SD card and on a physical floppy type thing, you know, for somebody who wants to buy a collectible on it. So just to, pay for the packaging, but I'm not selling the software. Christopher Peterson is here. Yeah, he mentioned in the past that he rewrote a version of Oregon Trail Thanks for showing up there, Christopher. And he actually think he put a link to it, a GitHub link on one of my recent videos. And so, but yeah, I don't know that you're going to be able to post a link in here though, Chris. Actually, Chris, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make you a temporary moderator where you can do that. So yeah, Christopher, if you want to post your link, go ahead and do that.
I'd be interested in seeing that because that's a classic game from the Apple II.
Yep. So, hey, Chris, and who else is in the live chat right now? We got Ken Reichard, we got Mark Overholzer, Curtis Boyle, Kyle Eater, Rob Inman, Davey Mitchell, Tim Franklin's here, Steve Powell is here, Chris Peterson is here. Yep. So that was my project update as I released a video today of the latest version of that game. So.
And what's your overall plan? Are you still planning to move this over to assembly language in a few months?
If you visit cosmicaliens.com, I've got a blog post telling you what all my plans are. So I got lots of plans, but yeah, an assembly language version, a Coco 3 version to take advantage of better graphics. I want to take advantage of sound hardware, you name it, but it's all going to be baby steps. But yeah.
So you got the full long-term plans on there?
Yeah, my plans are on the blog. There's a blog post.
Including your retirement on a yacht when you get all the royalties from it?
Yeah, when I start getting pop star pilot money,
Okay.
Is there an iOS 9 version?
I was thinking about doing a basic 09 version for craps and giggles, but honestly, I want to learn assembly before I learn basic 09 because I don't feel like learning basic 09 is propelling me forward. In a way, it's kind of sidestepping. And I think the time spent learning assembly is going to be more productive for my long-term goals to make more games and better quality games.
Yeah, I'd say it's a few steps forward, but it's not as big of a jump as assembly, no.
Yeah. So it's on the list. But actually, the next one I probably want to do is I want to do a Coco VGA version. So I'm hoping that between now and November, so if I can make it to Tandy Assembly, I think Brendan Donaghy's going to be there. I'll bring one of my Cocos and have him do a Coco VGA implant so I can make a version for that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And how'd you go last week with the Paul Thayer's marathon?
No, I mean, we had a good time at the marathon. I didn't hear back from him as far as like if that turned into sales or not. I think one or two people said they were going to get it, but I don't know any numbers.
Nick, did you sell a few games?
Yeah, there were a few there that Steve was able to coerce out of people.
Yeah, I think there was about 8 of them. About somewhere around 8 got sold during the month of August.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
It's pretty good.
Ferrari number 3.
Yeah, we just saw Jason on the edge of the internet there a second ago.
Yep,
edge of the internet. Living on the edge.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to take a commercial break here. I got a dog I got to let in here real quick, too.
He's going to drop a dog off at the pool or something.
I hear David takes them up for you. So.
Hey, David, how you doing over there?
I'm doing fine. What's up?
Yeah.
It's like you're very comfortable and very fall asleep
Just
over
one
there.
of these things where David's just going to be in the next room.
All right, I'm going to run these commercials. If you need to go grab a smoke, go smoke them. If you need to go to the bathroom, go drain it. All right,
Drain your
we'll be right
floppy.
back.
Smoke it up like Elon Musk.
In a world where RGB produces black and white video,
Stop licking that.
one cable can make a difference.
I sure hope that didn't go over the air.
It's a family show.
Switcheroo.
Oh shit, I wasn't muted.
CoCo3SCARTcable.com.
Functional family. Oh.
What's going on, guys?
Hi there.
Steve Strow here, and I want to say thank you so much for being part of this adventure with us. It's been such a great experience in doing CoCoTALK
What do you
every
want,
week,
dear?
and the support we get is just amazing. And so the fact that you watch and listen is all
Don't
the
you have someone
reward
else
that
to
we
pet
need.
her?
However, if
one of
you
the other
would like
dogs.
to become a patron of the
Go
show
take care of your
and
pups.
offer some financial assistance towards the production and hosting costs of the show, we do have a Patreon site available for that.
You have
And you
Mountain
can
Dew
reach
for
that
us,
by
isn't
going
it?
to our website at CoCoTALK.live and clicking on the
David,
Patreon
she
link.
just wants to
But
love that only
just do us a favor and watch and listen to the show.
Fletcher, I don't need that report tomorrow.
Great, JT.
I need it tonight.
It looks very
But
sweet.
JT.
Fletcher saved $300 on her office away from the office. Radio Shack's revolutionary Model
She's
100
looking at you with so
computer.
much love
It's
in
a
her
word
eyes.
processor, phone directory, and dialer. It even
Yeah,
communicates
Grant, you're
with
not
the
sharing the
office
sound, so
computer.
none of us can hear the
Fletcher, how's
commercials, but
that
that's okay.
report? Fletcher.
Radio
Oh,
Shack's
sorry.
Model 100. Save $300.
Yeah, we can all hear everybody.
And put it to
Where's the
work.
switch?
You'll go far,
Where's that
Fletcher.
It's under
switch?
sharing
you'll
somewhere.
go
And then
far.
it's under sharing in advance, and it's like share system sound. And we're now back. Press the button, Frank. Oh, you just ran all the commercials. That's right. It's looping.
At GSoft, we make games.
Are you running a second commercial break?
Nope, I'm taking
All
it. All right, we're
They
back.
have
Sorry about that.
training wheels.
You have system sound being shared now. All right.
Yes, I do.
So earlier we heard David say, "Don't lick that," and we have no idea what David was referring to, but that's okay. Inquiring minds want to know.
Better left to the audience's imagination.
Or not.
Or not, yeah.
Jason, is that an outhouse?
Or porta potty.
It is. It's very
That's where we're broadcasting from.
Yeah. David, you're
That's a
the
Coco
CoCoTALK Broadcast Center.
Yeah, we
Broadcast Center.
Coco.
Well, keep that up, Stevie, and I'll go to one of the state parks here in Nebraska, and then I will stream from one of the outhouses.
There you go.
Stream from the outhouse. Mm-hmm.
Stream from the outhouse. That's a good Coco game too. Outhouse.
Outhouse, yeah, the name of a popular TRS-80 Model 1 game from Computer Shack.
What?
Back in
Computer Shack. Fury by Computer Shack.
Later Mictron.
All right, gentlemen.
Hey, I gotta say something.
what-
Fired by
Yeah,
our
go ahead.
fearless leader Steve over here. He put together a little PC with a floppy on it, so he could make floppies, which is cool. So what I did was, I went and found my. I have an old Dell. See it down there?
Yeah.
And I got a floppy. Haven't put
Okay.
it in. And I've got Windows XP, and
Neat.
it's all set, ready to go. I just have to put it in. I thought it was a great idea. Use an old PC. Why not?
Yeah.
So, what program do you think I should run on there to facilitate making floppies? Like I have, my Model 3, Model 4. I could probably make discs from DSKs. You think with that?
What do you mean by making floppies?
Physical floppies from digitals.
So you want
I
Go ahead.
downloaded a program called what was it? That makes floppies. You have to download two programs. I think it's called CoCoDisk, and then FD install, and it'll allow you to make under Windows to make CoCoDisks.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
I see.
Didn't the emulator that came with the Coco 2 emulator have a
Yeah, Jeff
program
Vavasor's
called
had that too.
disk something? Just
Yeah, it's there's two utilities that came with both the Coco 2 and the Coco 3 emulator from Jeff Vavasor, but those are DOS based.
right, which
which would work on XP.
This has DOS, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, because I know it doesn't work on current versions of Windows.
But that's for a Coco. What about for Model 1 or 3 or 4?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Well, that's probably where we'd need some of the TRS-80 Z80 guys to chime in.
I'm on the wrong show.
I know I just read on the what's that newsletter? There's a newsletter for the TRS-80, TRS 8-bit.
Yeah.
That a new emulator was released that emulates the Model 1, Model 2, Model 3, Model 4, called TRS-80 GP. But I don't know if that writes the floppies.
I think it depends also on the what your floppy controller is on the PC. I seem to recall back in the day that it only worked on older style PCs. Yeah, so it may not work on your machine there.
I built a 486 that I write discs with, and I went to a website. I can post the link in the chat. A gentleman named Dave, I can't remember his last name. He wrote a program called Image Disk, and he has disk images that you can write to disk. But this is a DOS utility, so it's not for Windows. But he has a program called Test FDC that you run, and it evaluates your floppy controller and can tell you if it's compatible with his software. And the important thing is it tells you if you can write Model 1 disks, because Model 1 single and double density disks need a certain type of disk controller.
Yeah.
And so this utility, Dave Dunfield is his name, and I am.
Does David Ladd feel like he should say something here?
This is a floppy question, David.
Yes.
You've been.
So I put it in the Zoom group chat. The link.
Hey Ron, why don't you use your? You got a multi-pack and everything. Why aren't you using that to convert? Okay.
I was going to think more of. I don't know that I can use anything on the Coco to make Model 1 discs, all right?
Oh, Model 1 TRS-80 discs.
That's mainly what I was thinking.
I think there was a way, because I think Spectral, way back when the Coco first came out, actually had a utility for it, for doing Model 1 and 3 discs. But I don't remember seeing it on the archive, and I haven't seen it in years.
Did the original disc controller support single density as well?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
It supported sector sizes from 128 to 1024 bytes and single density.
Oh, so yeah, it should be able to do Model 1 discs then.
Yeah, as long as you have the software that knows how the.
As long as you have the software, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I got a message from Hugo. I put a message up on the Facebook group telling Hugo to join us on CoCoTALK, and he replied. He said he's away from his computer, but he might be able to join later.
Okay.
So yeah, hopefully he'll be able to join us a bit later on and talk about his new game.
Good.
Cool.
That would be
Excellent.
nice.
What is Jason doing now? Okay, Jason is now switching to
the red screen.
Oh, Lord knows what. Inside Jason's colon in the porta potty here. I don't know what's going on. There he is. Okay.
We're not going to watch him live stream, are we?
Steve, we don't need to see no colons.
So, Steve, I remember you were. So, how are you copying your discs
for the MS DOS thing?
Yeah.
Well, so I had somebody give me a floppy drive, but it's a 1.2 megabyte, so it's a high density. But I have blank floppies that I ran the command line format to format them as 360K floppies, and I format them that way, and I copied the files to them. The only problem is I have no way to accurately test it if it will work on a single density drive, because I don't have a system with a single. The whole point was I wanted to get the game on a disk to load it into the Tandy 1000 when I got to VCF, so I could demo the game on the Tandy 1000. Now that I'm not able to make it, it's not as important, but that was the plan. Theoretically, this should work, but I've also been told that when you have the high density drives, even though you formatted them as low density, there might be some compatibility issues on the actual low density drives, and I would have no
Here's
way
the
to
problem.
test it. What's that?
Here's the problem: is if the disk has been formerly used on a low density system, it has a wider track physically. The high density ones write a narrower track, and so if you don't completely degauss it first, so it's all wiped out, what'll happen is that when you read on low density disk, it'll pick up the center, which is your image you want, but the noise on the sides, so it makes it unreadable. So it should be fine if it's all been.
Makes sense.
The way around that is you get a bulk tape eraser, like we used to erase VHS tapes, and you have to zap the disk and then reformat it. Now, if you cannot write, you can write to that disk on the 360K drive, but once you write to it on a 360K drive, you cannot write it again on the 1.2. So what you do is you take it to the 1.2 and you do a disk copy. You copy it to a fresh 360K floppy written only on the 1.2 meg drive. Then you can read and write to it on the 1.2. But you can't, you can, the disk tracks are different widths. So you can't overwrite a thicker track with a thinner one because you'll have garbage on the edges.
Okay. It just sounds like a huge flustercluck. I just really needed to get one going to get the game in.
Steve, didn't you say you had a Tandy 1000?
Well, I was going to be picking it up at VCF Midwest. And my intention was to bring a floppy disk with me so I could load the game into the system and demo the game.
I thought
my concern is that my process for generating them is not necessarily 100% guaranteed it's going to work. And from the sounds of it, it probably won't.
Do you want to send me your floppies and I'll try them on my 1000s and send it back? You can do that.
I mean,
I have two 1000s.
Yeah, we can do that. We will arrange for that offline, as they say.
Okay.
All right, cool. Anybody else have a project update or anything else they wanted to talk about?
I did post on Facebook picture, my latest acquisition that I'm kind of proud of having now.
Oh, look at that. Nice.
The Waco. It's this one here, I couldn't believe it. It is in excellent shape. I can't even see that it's even been used.
Did you break the stick?
Wow.
For those of us that don't know, what is it?
I'm sorry. This is it's the Waco. It's the trackball for the
tiny
Coco.
one.
You know the roller balls like you used to play with.
Bigger ones than that, like 3.
Yeah, we used to sell those at Zebra. I have a couple. They're really nice. I have one for the Atari.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh, okay. It's big.
Okay.
Okay.
That's pretty good. Curtis, you got one of those, don't you?
Yep. Yeah, that was one of our first show together. We actually were
right. So that's good for games like Centipede and Polaris and a few other games like that are
any missile command type games,
Centipede type games. They're that's cool.
Anything with a joystick or a mouse based game for that matter. If it's based on the analog where you have the full 64 by 64 range, that's where they work the best.
Right.
It's in such good shape. I kind of hate to play with it because I want to keep it nice and original looking for my collection. But I might get the itch and maybe play one game or two with it and just see how it feels.
What do you got there, Ron?
Is that the same thing?
It's basically a trackball is like an upside down mouse, but it's made in a way where the ball is a little bit more readable.
Yeah, and the Waco one, if I remember, it's actually just a standard pool cue ball, isn't it?
Oh, the ball itself is a cue ball?
I think so.
I think it's smaller.
Slightly different.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But people have put cue balls and 8 balls into them.
It does feel like the same kind of material, though. Like it would be almost like a cue ball because it does have that same sort of weight or feel to it.
Yeah.
Now, would you run 2 of those on your machine?
You could for a 2-player game, I guess. But yeah.
Yes. I mean, everybody should have a pair of balls, right?
And from the looks of it, yours are cast iron, Ron.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we used to call them mouse balls.
You got a white one too.
No, I was the illustrator at Zebra. I went to commercial art school, so I drew a nice commercial art of a mouse running on top of the ball. And of course, to some people it looked a little bit different.
There was a game that came with Windows XP at one point in time that was like a bowling game where you could actually steer the ball down the lanes and stuff. And it was like you were like bowling down like through outer space, and you were bowling in like ancient Rome and stuff. And so it was a really cool visual game. And I had gotten a Logitech trackball mouse at that time because it was so much easier to go and just just whiz the ball as you're steering the bowling ball down the course and stuff. It was kind of cool. So there are certain games that lend themselves very well to a trackball.
Did anyone notice if you use a trackball for a while, then when you go back to a mouse, it's like
Yep.
Well, on a Coco, yeah, because the Coco mouse is not.
Yeah, Coco Mouse is not the most responsive input device. Yeah.
The Coco Mouse wasn't bad, but
yeah.
One thing I did notice, though, as I was looking for these here, this one I acquired through eBay, is that like a lot of third party, they made not just for the Tandy products, but they also made for other brands of computers. So you got to be watching what you're looking for. That this one's actually says for TR-80.
Right.
Yeah, Wiko made them for the Magnavox. They made them for the Coco, the Atari, the Amiga, the IBM PC, the Apple II. I forget which others.
What did you pay for that, Brian?
Commodore 64.
Commodore 64.
I acquired this one here for about $100.
Oh wow! So yeah,
I haven't seen one for a long time. So when I saw this one,
they're pretty rare.
Yeah, this is 2018, huh?
Whoo! $100 trackball. Wow, that's cool though. It's in the collection now, right?
Where do you live, Brian?
It'd be a shame if something happened to your family.
Yeah.
Just get you any idea.
Is that Iowa?
That is Iowa. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
The Hawkeye State here.
And Davey
Hawkeyes.
Mitchell is saying that the trackball predates the mouse. It's post World War II radar systems. That says now this is really retro talk. All right, so I feel we would be remiss if we don't get on to the main topic of today's show.
Uh-oh.
Unless I've cut anybody off. Does anybody else have anything they wanted to say?
Not me.
All right.
Did you want to run a commercial
sure, let's
before
do
we
that.
get
Let's
to
run a
this?
commercial break. Make sure you got your sound sharing so we can hear the commercial and not talk over it. All right.
in good shape.
Press the button, Frank. Let's hit that commercial, and then we'll be back after these words.
All right, here we go.
I'm
Commercial break.
downloading
TRS-80 color computer, TRS-80 MC10, and Dragon computers. Our basic games cover the range of genres from arcade, to text adventures, to simulations, to 3D dungeon crawls. This is our latest puzzle game from Japan, Fruit Panic. So come on and drop by our website and download our latest games.
What's going on, everybody? CoCoTALK, and I want to say thank you for continuing to watch and listen to CoCoTALK. We love doing this show. We think we put together a pretty good show for you, but this show could be better with your help. So if you would like to send a feedback, a comment, a suggestion, a show topic, or maybe even your own little segment or bumper, then send it to us via email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live. This show would be nothing without you. Love to hear from you.
Radio Shack, America's technology store.
Computer shopping has never been better at Radio Shack. Here's proof. Our new ultra-high-performance 386SX 20 megahertz computer with 85 megabyte hard drive, only $12.99. And it's from Tandy, manufacturer of the best-selling PC compatibles in America. Or get a 286-based Tandy home office computer with color monitor and hard drive, only $899.95. Shop your friendly nearby Radio Shack. Great selection, superior service. Nobody compares.
All right, we are now back. How's everybody doing out there
Yeah,
today?
nobody compares to Radio Shack. Visit a hobby town today. Why are we having Steve Con on here? Does Steve Con need to be on the screen, Grant? Do we think it's going to be that bad?
Yeah, well, we're just getting things ready just in case. Get your hard hats ready.
Yeah, if we keep talking
All
about
right,
floppies,
Steve.
content.
Stevie, you have the floor, sir. It's
All right. So we are going to talk about, or at least I am going to talk about, anybody else is free to chime in when I'm done. about some events that have transpired since last week's show, and apparently controversy has ensued. And for those who did not see the show and they're been under a rock, I'll just kind of bring you up to speed. So we had an assembly language segment last week with Steve Bjork, and he was going over some commands, and then he made the comment that the ASL is broken because it doesn't work right, and it's basically works the same way as the LSL means. And if you don't know what either one of these means at this point, it's honestly not even that important. But it, I believe, if I can say the word right, it's not arithmetic, but it's arithmetic, right? So ASL is an arithmetic shift left, and an LSL is a logical shift left. And Steve made the statement that the ASL on the 6809 does not work properly. And apparently one or more people took this to heart as saying, well, no, that's not a true statement. So let's demonstrate the fact that that is not a true statement. So we've got at least two different sources of people. John Linville posted a blog saying, and I don't even remember, but I believe the moral of the story, the short version of that is that this blog post says Steve Bjork is wrong, right? So whatever he said is not correct, and that ASL does work properly if you know what you're doing, or whatever. Again, so John did a blog post to demonstrate that, and then was Dave Phillipson made a YouTube video running through the numbers showing that the negative numbers carry and the whole 9 yards. So again, now we have two people who have basically said, no, it works. So Steve is wrong. And now, of course, Steve can't be with us today. So, and I believe too, actually, I think right now on my Facebook Messenger, I think Bill Nye, the science guy, and Neil deGrasse Tyson have also both chimed in. They've done their own scientific research, and they've also proven that no, ASL is not broken. So I believe there's enough scientific evidence to demonstrate the fact that the statement made was not a true statement. Now, did Steve make this as an error, or is his belief in what it's supposed to do or not believe? I don't know. He's not here. He can't say it. But based on the evidence, and Curtis backed me up on this too, have we concluded that the statement is an incorrect statement?
Yes, pretty well every 8-bit CPU and most other 16-bits and stuff all do it the same way. It's basically related to the fact that when you do that with a signed number, when it goes into overflow, it can change the sign bit, which if you just look at the the command itself, arithmetic usually would mean in your head. If it's a positive and I do a shift, it's going to stay a positive. If it's a negative and I do a shift, it's going to stay a negative, which in numbers that were within range, that works fine, which Steve even said on his segment. The problem is when you hit the overflow and it's now getting into a number that's too big to fit into 8 bits. Mm-hmm. And that one, depending on whether it's a negative or positive to begin with, can shift into and switch the sign on you. Now, this is an overflow condition, like it's kind of almost an error, not quite, but it does set the carry or the condition code register to flag that it's an overflow. So your program does know that, I'm a little bit outside of my space here. This won't fit. So I think basically what it comes down to is that John and David are right that it does operate the same on pretty well every 8-bit machine, and it is the way it was designed. It's not a design flaw. I think what Steve was trying to get at was that if you just think of it as an arithmetic shift where you expect the sign not to change ever, because if you're arithmetically shifting a number, if positive stays a positive, negative stays a negative, that will not operate as you might think, especially to a beginner, if you assume that is the case. If you do an overflow condition on it, that can change. It can change the sign on you. So I'm kind of in the middle on it. I think John and David are right that it is operating exactly the way as it should be. But Steve did make the point, especially for a beginner, that you should be aware that if you do an overflow condition on a shift, you're getting too big for 8 bits. The sign can change, which is not what you would expect. So it's kind of just something to be aware of, I think, more than
right. Okay.
It's not a bug. It's just something you need to be aware of.
So let me just start by saying this. Listen, if we're and when I say we, it wasn't even my presentation. Steve put together a presentation. But if we're a show and we are a community resource, and if we're putting out information and the information is not correct, well, it will get corrected and we will let you know. Hey, last week we said the sky was blue. It turns out the sky is red. Our bad. Sky is red. Right. So that's kind of a moral responsibility. And unfortunately, Steve's not here now. So the question really becomes, now, was Steve wrong? All right, or was how he said it. But yeah, I think he did say it in the phrase of, yeah, Motorola screwed up, or Motorola didn't do this, or no, this is something, whatever. I don't know. However he said it, it pissed in some people's Wheaties, right? So, so let's just say that the statement is not a true statement. We're now going to correct the statement. ASL works the way it's supposed to work. Hey, my daughter just chimed in, Megan. Hello, Megan. And Megan's going to want me to go fishing, which is why I'm having to get off of the show here soon. So, all right. So let's say he was wrong, and let's say worst case scenario, he doesn't want to admit he's wrong. He's not going to say I'm wrong. He's not going to say I'm sorry. Here's my concern about this. This is the part about this that I'm not. I have no problem admitting if I made a mistake or whatever else. But my concern is this: is that we've had a couple of people spend a long time to go out of the way to, say, oh no, this is right, this is wrong, or whatever. And honestly, I just feel the way it happened just doesn't rub me the right way. It doesn't feel to me like we're doing this for the benefit of the community. Like, this was not a community service to prevent some poor unknowing assembly programmer from possibly stepping in a pothole. This was more, to me, it really felt like, let's just prove that this guy is wrong. Honestly, that's just what it felt like to me. He's wrong, or he made a statement. So are we trying to do this to correct the show? Are we trying to do this to wrong or right? Are we really trying to do this to bring somebody down a notch? And honestly, to me, it felt more like it was about, he screwed up. Let's let the world know he screwed up. Right? That's kind of how it felt to me. The way it was presented, and the amount of time and energy and effort that went into beating this one to death just did not feel like it was warm and fuzzy, So, and I have an issue with that, honestly. So this is going to be my rant today. And so
what's the fix?
It's honestly, it's irrelevant. If it shifts left, if it shifts right, if it shits the bed, it doesn't matter. What I want to address right now is that, we have a couple of people who went out of their way to take on whatever it is, to take on a fight, or whatever the thing is, to take on a cause. And what was the motivation of the cause, and what's the end result benefit for the great of mankind? I don't know that there is, and that's the part I have an issue with. So, as a show that we are providing, if we provide misinformation, obviously people are going to make a mistake. If we find out the information is wrong, we'll fix the information and we will correct it the next time. I just think that, to me, this was just taken too far, too long, and it was just dragged out, and it was just beat to death in a way that it didn't need to be beat to death. So that's my opinion, and my opinion is not wrong. It's mine. But so here's my bigger concern. And again, I'm at this point now, I just feel like a lot of people have been walking on, at least I feel like I have to walk on eggshells sometimes. I feel like sometimes we are ignoring the gorilla in the room. And so what this has taught me, from a perspective of a show and a perspective of how I want our show to interface with our community that we serve, is that, there's just, unfortunately, there is some bitterness between certain people. There is some negativity that plagues. Some of it happens behind the scenes. Some of it happens on the scenes. None of us are perfect, right? So there's a couple of people that just, they don't like each other. And the fact that they don't like each other is why certain things happen. This person doesn't like that person, so we're now going to talk shit about whatever product they make. This person doesn't like that person, so if they make a mistake, let's write a blog about it, And so, is it serving the community, or is it just serving our animosity for another person? And that's the kind of drama that I don't want to have being any part of this show. And there's been plenty of times that I've sat by and just let things happen. And my position now is I'm not going to do that. And so, yeah, maybe Steve made a mistake, and maybe he will admit it, maybe he won't. And when he's here, he can speak for himself. He's not perfect. I'm not perfect. I mean, I rage quit my own show, for the love of God, right? So I'm going to be the last person to say I've never made a mistake. The difference is, when I make a mistake, I'll say, hey, dude, I screwed up. I'm sorry. Let's move on. I don't hold grudges. I don't bury hatchets, all that kind of crap. So I just think there's things going on that, to me, don't feel like we are this warm, fuzzy ball of community that we all claim to be, right? And then they're bothering me, and I just want to put an end to it. So my stance is going to be this: if somebody is going to be rude to somebody else on the show, which has happened, I'm going to say, listen, no, that's not cool. Let's not be rude to that person. And if they can't do it, then we're going to cut them off. And I don't care who that person is. Nobody's going to get a free ride. Nobody's going to get a pass, right? So there's been plenty of times where, Simon's gotten his hand slapped for trying to speak. So that's just not cool, right? There's times now where we're trying to prove each other right or wrong and defend our opinion or our belief on something. And for what reason? Is there a valid positive reason? Is there a valid positive outcome to this? I don't feel that there is. And honestly, it's just got me sick to my stomach. So my position and my preference is going to be, I want people on here who are going to be nice to each other and are not going to find the first chance we can get to point out somebody's mistake and to, say, no, you can't speak because I'm speaking and all these kind of things. I don't want any of this crap going on anymore. I'm not going to tolerate it on this show. I can't control how people behave outside of anything, but I can control what I'm going to allow to take place on this show. And I'm just not going to allow it anymore. So if anybody is rude or disrespectful to somebody, I will mention it politely. And if, you get one warning, and if not, boom, you're going to be hung up on for the show. And if it's a problem, somebody continues to be rude, then they just won't be on the show anymore. But there's no free rides. There's no free passes. There's no exceptions. And that's it. So that's it. That's the end of my rant. I'm done. You guys feel free to chime in however you want to chime in.
Okay, I have to say I agree. I think it's okay to have discussions. It's okay to have disagreements, but we have to be civil about it. It doesn't become personal. It's not like me versus Stevie or something like that, where I'm, taking it as a personal affront. We have to be somewhat open-minded. I mean, sometimes, you can teach an old dog new tricks, et cetera, too. Like there's been a few times where stuff that I've believed for 20 years and I've found out I'm wrong. And like Stevie said, you have to be able to admit it and carry on. And we should have discussions. We don't have to always agree on everything, but we have to be civil about it. And that's, I think, what the crux of Stevie's position is, and I have to agree, because it just distracts from the show. And then it becomes personal. Then you get sides forming on both people on the sides. And then you get, not just two people arguing, you get two communities arguing with each other. And the Coca community is too small to, kind of fracture it apart like that. I think we need to try to, we're trying to promote the same machine in whatever way possible. And we should all be sharing in that and not trying to separate into separate subgroups that are fighting with each other all the time. That's my opinion.
Well, I could just say one thing too. I, in the past, have been moving my camera around a whole lot and doing things in the background and stuff. Stevie came to me and said that, he didn't think it was a good idea and to try not to do it so much anymore. So I don't. And I took that as, something to help. And I'm not mad at him for saying that to me, and I wouldn't be. And we're buds still. It's not
constructive criticism. That's what I would call it.
And it's okay. Everybody should be able to take a little bit of balanced correction, and move along. None of us are perfect, like you said. And
Ken says, Ken in the chat says, we have to be civil about our disagreements, you stupid morons.
So I was in Florida, here recently for a week. And, after he had told me to do this stuff, I thought, no, I'm not going to his house. No way.
This guy doesn't like the way. This guy doesn't like the way I move my camera.
Yeah, it's true. So, no, I couldn't go. I wanted to real bad, but I just couldn't. So, no
yeah.
biggie.
So, I mean, on the one hand, we do want to make sure if we are a news source or a media outlet for the machine in the community, we want to make sure we do our best effort to provide accurate information. And also as a community service, if the information is not accurate, there can be a tactful way to say, well, no. And I'm not saying that doing a blog post is not tactful. I'm not saying that the other YouTube video was not tactful. I just feel like it was just a whole lot all at once, and I'm questioning the motive or the actual intent behind it. I don't know. Again, this is me. So, but what I will admit is that I have seen bad behavior happen, and I have tolerated certain behavior that I am not always felt really good that this person shouldn't have treated this person that way or this or any other. And what I'm going to do is I'm just not going to sit around and tolerate it anymore, at least on the show, because that's the only thing that I can control. I can't control people's grudges towards each other. And if people, and we're grown men, so if people can't bury the past and move forward, I can't control that. But I'm just not going to let any more of that affect this show. And I don't want, you know what I mean? To me, it really felt like we spent a year and a half blowing up a balloon full of good intentions and good energy and positivity. And then it just felt like there's a couple times that people are now poking the hole in this balloon and just letting some of that out and just deflating everything that had been achieved. And it didn't sit right with me. It doesn't sit right with me. And I'm not saying that was the intent, but that's what it feels like to me. And I don't feel good about it. So I'm sharing my opinion on the matter. And I just want to make sure that this is a show where friends can be friends. And you know what? We don't have to like what somebody's going to say, but they should be able to say it.
Well, what do you think of like grudge talk after dark?
I don't know. Why don't you move your camera around? Why don't you move your camera around and I'll tell you how I feel about it. So Davey Mitchell's throwing up the peace dubs, right? So anyway, so yeah, I mean that's just my take, and I don't want to, you know, the gloves are off. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat anything. That's kind of how I feel about it. If I have misrepresented what people's intent was, hey, I'm stating my opinion. I'm not saying that Motorola made a mistake, but in my opinion, I felt like this was more vindictive than it was helpful.
Well, and my perspective too is that, you know, I was big into the Coco in my teen years, and I put this stuff all in a box back in 1989, 1990, and it hasn't seen the daylight since. And coming across this show just a few months ago, this has got me unboxing everything and getting back into it. And I want to continue to grow with the machine and see how it all works and learn things that I've forgotten, because, you know, I haven't touched this stuff in that many years. And so I want to see this community grow and the new products and kind of getting back into the retro thing of it all, and, you know, the whole big picture of what this community can bring to the whole. So I want to see it grow. So
yeah, we shouldn't have a couple of guys cause this thing to go down or anything.
You said whole like 4 times.
No.
I tend to repeat myself a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. I always have to have a sense of humor. All right, so in the live chat, too, shifting gears for just a second, Lloyd Thompson says, hey, guys, I just bought a Panasonic 9-pin dot matrix printer. Any idea where I can find a cable that will fit my printer port on my CoCo that can connect to my port on my printer? Then we're asking, is it RS-232? And Lloyd says it's got RS-232 and USB. I don't know. So, yeah, and then we're now saying that this might make a good core dump. So is anybody familiar with that printer? The Panasonic... He doesn't tell us what model, but if it's serial, it should work somehow, right? If it's a serial printer, a cable.
Yeah, he says sports IBM and Epson, so that means it's old.
Okay.
School.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just a matter of physical cable.
Yeah,
just 4-pin to the 25 or whatever.
25.
It's
yeah.
So, Stevie, I got a question for you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh! Feel the love now.
What's that now?
So, do you think that this issue is more Coco community related, or is this in a lot of other?
I can't speak for other retro communities, but I feel there are some strong personalities with some history of bad blood, and I feel that this comes up. And you know, like I said, I can't change the past. I can't change other people's feelings towards each other, but I just feel like sometimes it's just poisoning the water well, and I'm just kind of tired of drinking tainted water. So I would like to keep the well as clean as possible. So I can't speak for other communities, though, so I don't know. Yeah, but if I had one wish, it would be that we could all just get along, and whatever happened in the past and whatever problems we have with each other, we could find a way to bury those hatchets. Now, maybe that's too idealistic, but that would be great. But in the meantime, if you can't get along, then just don't bring it here. You know, I don't want to hear it on Discord. I don't want to hear it on the show.
Civility. That's basically what it boils down to.
There's some bad actors in the Apple community. But,
yeah. I mean, it's human nature. We're human beings. We're flawed creatures. We all have, you know, we all make mistakes. We all have emotional wounds. We all have thresholds and tolerances. You know, I've been married to my wife for 18 years. So she looks at me wrong, I'm ready to curse at her. So, you know, I get it. You know, we have these hair triggers with certain people in certain situations. It's just scar tissue that has formed over time. You know, that healing would be nice.
Yeah, I know how to set off my wife after 44 years. You know?
Yeah.
Just for fun.
Yeah, I mean, how many times? I don't know how many times I've been told about the damn toilet seat lid. You know, it's just like, It is what it is, you know. Ken says, "Somebody poison the water hole." We're quoting Woody from we're quoting Woody from Toy Story now. So, yeah.
Nick, did you want to say anything about this topic?
He's probably scared.
No. It's just that I'm always right, you know. So
there's a snake in my boot.
No, I agree entirely with what Steve said. So yeah, no comment.
Yeah, we gotta be careful because we don't want to do bullying or anything like that, especially in.
No, I'm not trying to ostracize anybody, but I don't want to tap dance on certain things that have just been overlooked for a little too long. That's kind of my stance on it. And really, David Ladd, I can't tell you how much I can't stand that guy.
Thanks a lot, Stevie.
At least he muted his video. That helped.
Yeah,
right. Honesty can sting.
Honesty.
You know, here I was trying to put a little bit of a break in there. Jeez, look at what I get for trying to create a pleasant distraction.
Put your video back on, David. We miss you. We miss seeing that face of yours. We miss seeing your shining face. We don't. Wow. All right. Have we beat this one to death?
Yeah, you know, I downloaded a picture of a horse with a guy in a stick. I forgot to put it up.
Why don't you turn your camera real fast, Ron? And
no, we need Stevie in a horse costume with someone beating him with a stick.
I think we're good.
I promise to do my best.
Ron, you're doing a great job. You've got so much, you know what I mean? You have so much contagious energy. You're always sharing pictures. You're always doing, you know what I mean? You are like the epitome of the happiest guy in the world when it comes to your enthusiasm for the hobby and for what you do on Facebook and everything else.
I got toys. They're everywhere.
It really is. I mean, it's great. I mean, listen, we're all good people. None of us are bad people. We're all human beings, and individually we're all great. And sometimes collectively there's certain chemical reactions that don't always make for sweet, bubbly, 7-Up. Sometimes you get things that just don't go well in the wash, and it is what it is. But I would love to see a time where everyone was much more civil towards each other.
Yeah. And sometimes they'll start legitimately, like you are trying to say, something was misinformation and here's an example showing you why, etc. And then sometimes because of the personality clash, it escalates beyond that when it should have just been, okay, there's this proof that this is wrong, or that it should work this way instead, or whatever. And then sometimes it just, like we always say, are we done beating the dead horse? So sometimes the horse is beaten into a bloody pulp and lying in pieces all over the ground, and it's still going on. And that's where it's just getting a little bit of way too out of hand. And civility, it's the same.
Do we need like a graphic of an explosion thing with dust flying down for when you bounce somebody off or doing something?
Well, the SteveCon kind of covers that, though. I mean, it's personalized in that case, but I think it could apply to all of us, to be honest.
Yeah.
Do unto others.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, moral of the story is David Ladd can stay.
David Ladd, we're gonna give him another chance. He's already.
Hey, when we vote on that? Oh, sorry. What are we talking about?
No, but David, why don't you stay on camera? We never see you.
No, we don't. No, we don't want that.
It's the dogs, I tell you.
Oh, he's now on the edge of the internet too. What are you doing? You peeing outside, David?
What?
Has anybody caught a Coco STD this past week?
I had some.
Oh no, David's camera's frozen.
Must be too far from his Wi-Fi point there or something.
What a mug though! Look at that mug. It's a.
In the 3-day growth, it's nice.
Yes, look at that mug.
It's a thing of beauty.
Yes. Oh, there it is. Walking the dog. Walking the dog. Walking the dog.
Please don't sing "Who Let the Dogs Out."
Right. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to drop off because I promised my daughter we were going to go fishing. I got fresh worms and all kinds of stuff. So thank you for indulging me.
You just
TMI,
set up a bomb
TMI.
and then you leave.
Yes, just dropped a big old shite right in the carpet, and now it's that's David the dog whisperer to clean up. Too, so
Thanks for bringing it up.
And so so I guess if there is
Very funny, Stevie.
Yes, thank you. You're too kind. So if there is a silver lining to me not being able to go to BCF Midwest next weekend, I guess it's so at least we can still have a show. We're concerned about having a show. And Lloyd says, thanks. I'm excited to finally have gotten a Coco to play with. I'm slowly building a collection of hardware. Was Lloyd the guy we showed the picture of last week where he had the computer that was a little bit dirty, but he says, I just got it. And I think
I can't remember if that was him or not.
Yeah. Well, hey, Lloyd, we're happy to have you here. Sorry you're listening to us air some dirty laundry right now, but thanks for being here. And your nonstop source for drama is here at Drama Talk.
Families have interventions.
Yeah. All right, guys. So I'm going to drop off. Thank you so much, Grant. Continue to do a great job, David Ladd. I love you. We'll
be talking about you.
And if you can, I would expect. I want a blog post and a YouTube video. Or you're not holding up to community standards.
Karma.
All right, press the button, Frank. Take care, guys.
Enjoy.
Later, Stevie.
All right, take care, Stevie.
So that's the opposite of rage quit.
Oh crap! I thought that was muted.
Nope.
So I had a good time
All
with
right, guys.
Max Jackson the other day. Him and I got together. He bought a MC10 in the mail. It came. It didn't have a power supply, so he came over and we hooked it up and got it working. It was fun. We had, we played on the Coco 3 a little bit. We copied games. It was fun. Just like the old days, copying games. Huh? Software?
How are you trying to start some more controversy there, Ron?
Exactly. Finally. Somebody's smart.
It's kind of funny because I remember. Do you remember in the Rainbow magazine, Pen Pals? That's how I used to trade games and stuff with people through Pen Pals. I could never wait till 10 o'clock in the morning when the mailman came to see what they brought.
Well, I think Steve's talked about it before. I mean, back in the day, a lot of us were kids and you couldn't afford games.
No.
And I mean, no, it's not right for the software authors not to get paid for the work.
That's right.
But you wouldn't have bought it anyway. You wouldn't have the money. So had they really lost that many sales, I mean, you can belabor the point. I'm sure they lost some. But nowadays, since we're older and we have disposable income, a lot of us are supporting the authors, and they're probably doing as well as they would have done in the old days in some cases. Except for Nick, because he had 14 Ferraris back then. But
I just bought Bruce Moore's thing. All 6 episodes he has out. They're awesome. I was able to sit all at once and listen and go through each one. It was great. And used to be. Buying a software is one thing. It's almost like when somebody gives you a car, you don't take care of it as well as if you spend the money every month and buy a car. It just seems to be, you take care of it, you wash it, you buff it out and stuff.
Yeah, you're personally invested in it. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's the same as living in an apartment versus a house. And once you're paying the mortgage and you're paying the upkeep, well, you're gonna keep it up a lot better than if you're renting an apartment from some landlord you don't even like.
Yeah, but the truth is you're supposed to take care of everything, right?
You're supposed to, but that once again, that personal investment's not there.
Yeah.
You're just, loaning it or whatever. So yeah, because I heard that was I missed that. I've been so busy with work this week, but I guess there was a bit of a copyright controversy going on Facebook too, and that actually got yanked down because it was getting too personal and vented and heated and stuff too. So
with what?
About copyright.
Oh. You mean,
I didn't catch any of it because I've been so busy with work, like I said, but I did hear about it from a few other people, and I guess it was only up for about 24 hours, and I got yanked.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Because I put something up about a book, the assembly language book by Barden up. It was for $200. Then after that, people started saying, oh, no, you can get it yourself online, and then people mentioned that he had yanked them.
Yeah.
Well, I thought maybe that would be a problem.
How many books were yanked from offline? Are we just talking about one or
everything he did? I think.
Yeah, everything what Bill Barden did.
Yeah,
he still got copyrights on. But people have to actively pursue their copyright. Steve's mentioned this before too, because he has to do that too. Because if you set precedent, even for something you did way back in the day, that you're not going to enforce your copyright, they can use that in court, even on modern stuff you're doing now, and say, well, you're not enforcing your copyright, so it doesn't apply.
You know, this.
How many books did he? How many books did he
Pardon?
write?
Quite a few.
Oh, quite a few. Different
Yeah.
platforms and stuff too, not just Coco.
This all goes to the same root of being nice and civil and stuff, really. You know,
And respecting authors' rights and stuff too.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, on my website, I've got downloads of about 110 games, and I've got permission for more, whenever I get back to my site. But I've made sure that anything I've got on my site, I've gotten permission from the author to release. I'm not putting anything up that I just threw up because I have it. So I'm trying to keep it clean there. Now, the Coco Archive is basically doing the opposite. They put everything up, and then they pull it off if the author complains, and they haven't had too many. So, I mean, I don't know where the correct ground is there. I would wish that some people would be able to release stuff, either PD or shareware or something, like release the rights. So then it's a legal thing. It doesn't affect their current copyrights, if they got anything current going, that they want to maintain their copyright, and they want to maintain so that if they have to go to court over it, that they have enforced their copyrights. But you can release something that you've done years and years ago that you're not going to sell and have no plans to sell again, as long as it's not encroaching on anybody else's copyright. Like Steve's would be a bit of an exception because a lot of his stuff was ports, for Datasoft of official arcade games. So you got to get Sega in on it, you got to get Datasoft in on it to get the rights to say release Axon. So it becomes such a rigmarole that chances are you probably can't. So that's my personal view on that. I tend to favor the side of the authors. I've been one myself with commercial stuff that I've seen pirated lots. And but on the other hand, I do see some authors that have no intention of ever selling the game again. You might as well just, if you're able to, just release the code, or not even the source code if you don't have it anymore. A lot of people don't, but just release the executable so people can enjoy them on the retro machines, because you're not going to be selling it anyway. And quite a few authors have. I mean, like I said, I've got quite a few on my website that are legally released by the author.
Cool.
Well, with ease of use coming out and being able to play music, WAV files on there, and play in the astronomy program, Planet Engine, that's cool. Then moving over to back here, I got the Coco SDC player, playing, it's MP3s basically through the Coco, which is stuff we never thought would ever happen back in the day. I mean, Brian, what do you think about all this new stuff?
I think it's great. I mean, it's just, looking back at what we had available before, and then seeing what is available now, it's really neat. I mean, I'm ordering. Oh yeah, it's very mind blowing. Looking at, I did get my the SDD ordered. I don't want to say
SDC,
T again. Yeah, I did get that. I've been getting a little razzing about that one, kind of funny, but I got that ordered, and going to be getting the boomerang and getting my my Coco set up. I think it's really cool, the things, because you can kind of bring a little bit of a modern flair and just better enjoy what the retro computer, and the old Coco can do for us, And so I just think it makes it a much more enjoyable experience, and being able to it just makes it better, and quite frankly funner too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, what's cool is some of these guys that do the hardware stuff, it seems like they just think of what they want to do, and then some time goes by, and then bam, it's like a magic table, at home, where you dirty it up. Next morning you wake up and you come out and it's clean, all magic. Which my wife would disagree about, but it's the same idea though. These guys, they just whip up stuff, and they're so smart, and they figure it out. Like Paul Barton, even though he's done some this retro stuff, and he can think of anything and just eventually come up with it. I gave him the hard drive controller to play with, and a hard drive or two. And I said, make it work, whatever. He got it working. Now he's starting to make his own. He's going to do his own thing. Who knows what he'll add to it, but it's cool.
Yeah. I know that's a bit of a disagreement between some people in the community, because some people are collectors and they want, hardware from the time, and that's it. They want to stop there. But to me personally, I mean, the Coco never sat on its laurels on hardware. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had a multi-pack or hard drives or anything else, even back in the day when it's still being sold. It would have been progressing anyway. So progressing to newer stuff because it's out now, and a lot of the hardware designers, because it would have all these fancy CPLDs and FPGAs and stuff, you can do stuff that you would never have been able to afford to do back in the day. You know, when a hard drive controller was $200 and a hard drive was $5,000. You know, now you can do a Coco SDC with a 32 gig card or whatever for like $100 with a case or less. So I have no problem with new hardware coming out and expanding the capabilities, because we would have been doing that even if Radio Shack still was selling Cocos.
Yeah, well, they had the full turn of the screw. Remember that?
Yeah, Tony's.
They came up with innovative things all the time.
Yep. It always progressed. It never sat on its laurels. It never just halted. And actually, the hardware pickup the last few years, I think, has actually been increasing. Like, it kind of lulled down after the Coco was canceled, and then software for a while was what was coming out more often than hardware, and now hardware is coming out. Software's having trouble keeping up.
Yeah, remember the A bus that came out? It was in the magazines
where
you could have all these projects stuck into it and control things. You know, temperature. We have a weather station. Do things. That's really cool things.
Yeah,
stuff I enjoy.
Yeah, and Jim Brain, I mean, he's got the 8-slot multi-pack type thing, and then Ed Snyder's got his new one coming out that's got built-in serial ports and sound cards. So you can get into that kind of stuff again now with much more modern hardware and cheaper.
He's got that new keyboard coming out too, by the looks of it.
Yeah. Grant, did you have news stories that you wanted to cover, like the new keyboard from Eddie's got some photos of, and then Hugo's put some screenshots of the background tiles and stuff for his levels and his new game and that kind of thing?
You'll have to share those, because I'm not able to do that because I only have 2 screens, not 3. So if you want to,
I'll find them first. Talks amongst yourselves whilst I try to find those.
So I went with Max Jackson, you know, to he came over to my house and we did this stuff, had fun. We went to lunch together and talked about things, and now he lives maybe 12 miles away, but now he's moving for yesterday he's moving to Cincinnati. So now we're back to being digital friends. But it was nice to see somebody in the flesh, you know, and somebody that, you know, I met him at Coco Fest, and he's 12 miles away from me, which was interesting. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Are you going to try to go Coco Fest next year?
Yeah. I don't know about Tandy Assembly. I kind of like to, but I got things going on. I have a mother that's 86 and a dog that's 86. Dog just had a UTI, you know. $450 later, she's all back to herself. I'm not, but you know. You ready?
No, I'm still hunting down stuff here.
Geez,
all right, let's go ahead and do a commercial here real quick then. And Nick,
I was just wondering if anyone has any newbie questions, and maybe we can have a newbie question, or someone on the chat might chime in with a question. We can do a newbie question or answer it as best we can anyway.
Looks like the questions that they're going through right now is about that TRS-80 color computer printer cable.
Probably need a diagram for that to show the wiring for it. I think Cloud9 have printer cables for that, but it may vary between, depending on your printer, what pinouts to use.
They have a drive wire cable, but I mean, for serial, in most cases, switch the transmit and receive lines for the printer. So I posted a link to the drive wire cable from the Drive Wire 3 site.
All right.
Also Cloud9 and
yeah. I think in most cases, you really need to wire up your own cable to suit the printer, I guess. I don't know of any place that have got serial cables ready to go for printers.
Your Coco manual would have the pinouts.
You'll have the pinouts, but it may not have it where the wires go.
Cloud9 sells serial cables.
Yeah. All right.
I posted a link on the YouTube chat. Well, I couldn't post the link because I'm not a mod, but if you search on Google for TRS-80 color computer printer cable, an article will come up on the very top of the search. that tells you how to make a cable.
Oh, is that a wiki?
No, it's actually a magazine article from Compute Magazine. And it tells you how to make a CoCo printer cable. And looks like it's very easy.
Yeah, it's only 3 wires, I think.
Yeah, 3 wires.
When the blue smoke comes out, that's when you have somebody else do it.
Well, I have both a Bowtech. I have a Bowtech adapter and the other one, the white one, the
PBH?
PBH. I have a PBH and a Bowtech, which is what I recommend because there's no fiddling. But if his printer has a serial interface on the back, as he claims, then you can wire up a direct cable.
Yep. Yeah, PBH and Bowtech were the serial to parallel interfaces, so you could run it a bit faster and a bit easier and more compatible with more printers.
Yeah, I ran my PBH at 9600 baud, but the default is 600 baud, so you have to
Do a
make
poke.
dip switches on the. Well, you can do a poke. Whatever you're going to do, you have to make sure that the dip switches on the serial interface match what you're going to be printing at.
Yeah,
the article that I'm talking about tells you how to do the poke also.
Cool.
Okay, Grant, I've got a couple of screenshots here, but I can't share.
Okay, 1 second here. I just got a ping here. I guess Dave Phillipson has made a statement that he wants me to read, so I'll read it verbatim, and then we'll leave it at that. He says, "I just wanted to say publicly that I am sorry for this ASL got blown out of proportion, and I am the one most responsible for it. I don't have a beef with Steve Bjork. I've never even met him or spoke with him personally, and I hope he will forgive me for making this bigger than it should have been. It is something that I will try to work on." And that was the end of his statement.
Good.
Very, very well put. And I mean, he was trying to do it as a learning thing to show people, the reasoning behind this, why they disagreed with what Steve had said. And I don't have any beefs with that. It just it got dragged on too long, and for some people, it was starting to get a little bit personal, as opposed to just being informative. So I don't want to discourage Dave from not, making proof of something that he wants to say and showing how it works, etc. I think that's very informative. That's almost a tutorial. So I definitely want to encourage that to still happen. It's just the personal stuff we have to keep out. And to be honest, I don't think Dave got too personal from what I remember, but I'm kind of a little bit behind on. I didn't follow all that this last week.
Sounds like he's a knowledgeable guy anyway.
Yeah, he wrote Supercom, the original version for OS9, a terminal program. So
okay.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, before we get to the news, I will go ahead and run a commercial here real quick. So if everybody needs to go to the restroom, now's the time to do that, and then we'll be right back. I gotta get the commercials in, otherwise Stevie gets mad. All right, here it is.
We'll return after these announcements.
I'm too sick. Sexy boy.
David Ladd.
That's so wrong.
And it's better when you say that tôt.
Thanks a lot.
C'est le coq champignon, des micros et dans le pion. Pour le jeu, il est pas bavard, les études, c'est pas bizarre. L'expansion, il a ça, les commandes, tu vas voir ça. Notre Coco est programmable, pour tes cours, c'est bien serviable. Pour que de Radio Shack, ton affaire est dans le sac.
A
Un ordinateur couleur qui a de la personnalité. Le Coco 2 de Radio Shack. En solde pour Noël à partir de 149,95.
Coco 2 de Radio Shack, ton affaire est dans le sac.
Coco 2!
Coco 2!
All right, we are now
Take
back.
it from Ron Delvaux.
Okay, so can I share a screen here?
You're going to share what?
You cannot start share screen when the other participant is sharing, it says.
Oh, let me stop. There you go.
Try it again.
Take 2.
Hey, can you see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Hey, so that's Ed Snyder's new keyboard on the top.
Wow.
With the keycaps that he's got, and he's got other pictures that we can go through there too. But compared with the original Coco keyboard on the bottom, he's even got a red break key because I know Jason was bugging him about that. But it looks really good.
Yeah.
I like the black background actually better than the gray, to be honest. It looks really
I
nice.
want one now.
How much do
He's
we have
hoping
a
to
price
get it
on
around
yet?
120 for the entire thing. The keycaps, laser etched, as well as the the switches and everything else on it, which he's got some pictures of. There's a zoom up of the keyboard there. And if I go here, you can see all the keycaps. I mean, that's a fair bit of an investment to get all that stuff.
That's a fair bit of keyboard, and we're talking about custom back piece, except for the key switches themselves.
I like this, the fact that he labeled it underneath so you know what keys go where, because I remember taking my keyboard apart to clean it and not having a picture of one nearby, and I couldn't remember where that half the keys went.
I love the little Cylon he put on there.
Oh, yeah, the old Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, the old Battlestar Galactica right there. Yeah. Obviously.
So can I suggest a feature creep now?
Well, I'll talk to Ed. I'm not doing it.
I want light up
We know
keyboard.
he's listening. We know he's listening.
I know one thing I thought about, I don't know if there's enough physical room for it, but if you remember the old Coco 1 and 2, the up and down arrow keys were on the left side, right and left arrow keys were on the right. A lot of games were designed to do that because it was quite easy to play two-handed. When the Coco 3 keyboard came out, they jammed them all into the diamond configuration more for word processors, but it kind of sucked for games. I don't know if I don't know if about hardware and capacitance and all that kind of stuff, but would it be possible to put alternate versions of the keys? So you have the up and down arrows on the left and in the diamond shape or a T shape or whatever, and then you could actually make it friendly for both purposes. And it wouldn't take any more than the keyboard matrix, could be the same key press. I don't know enough about hardware to know
maybe
if that would
a 30-foot cable and then a container to put it in so you can have it detached.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting Ed do that because he's already doing prototype stuff. I don't want him to screw up his prototypes and have to redo them all. But that was just a thought I had. But I don't know about hardware to really decide if that's a good.
I think it looks good. So this is going to replace the one
just
in
a
there,
drop-in
right?
replacement.
It'd be nice.
How is this different from Cloud9?
Cloud9's you're using your original Coco keyboard. He's replacing all the switches with better quality switches because of those the Mylar and stuff eventually wears out and then your keyboard doesn't work properly. But as far as I understand, you still use your old keys with it.
Yeah, so basically you have to sacrifice your old keyboard to get the upgrade, whereas this is
which in some cases, if the Mylar's wearing off, you pretty well have to anyway because this key only works half the time you hit it type thing. Yeah. Whereas Ed's replacing the entire unit at once. Keys and
so
all.
anybody who has a Coco without a keyboard, this would be your bet.
Yeah. And this will be more expensive because you've got the keys and everything else too.
Yeah. I like the idea of a lighting key though.
Cool.
Just going on by what Curtis was saying about the arrow keys on the left, it'd be nice if there was some way to have a circuit which reinterprets the Alt and Control keys, which are currently on the left, just reinterprets those so that they become the arrow keys.
Yeah, just a flip of a switch or something.
Yeah, just a switch or whatever to reprogram it. So that you could choose. You can have either then an original Coco 3 or something with the arrows on the left like a Coco 2.
Yeah, because I remember some of the games were quite easy to play with the keyboard on the Coco 1 and 2, and then when you got to Coco 3, they became impossible. Actually, that's a better idea than mine of having alternate versions of the keys because then you have to redesign the keyboard layout and add more keys. It's more expensive. Yours probably would be a lot cheaper. I don't know the electrical...
Yeah,
mechanical, whether that would work.
He'd have to relay out the whole PC board.
Yeah, so it might be a bit too much.
And then he'd also have to recut that, whatever that bezel is he's putting on the top. I'm assuming he's having that laser cut. So it would be like making a whole separate key, a whole second keyboard. You know.
Yeah. That's why I like Nick's idea, because then the physical layout of the keyboard is not that different. You would
It's
just
the same, yeah.
My idea was you'd have to add in new keys and everything else, which is a lot more expensive.
See, I'm not speaking for anyone in particular, but I heard people are working on a Bluetooth adapter where you could then maybe use a Bluetooth keyboard with a Coco.
Yeah, well, I know the Cloud9
yeah.
demoed one of those at the fest a few years back.
Yeah, there was a guy Dave that demoed one, and right next to me at Coco Fest this year. Keyboard and a mouse.
Yeah. So anyway, there's that, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's,
And then Hugo, we saw last week, he had done a lot of the sprites and stuff, which look really, really good. And here's some of his tile background stuff, and this looks really good too. So this is the new game he's been working on. This is kind of, he's rebooting a game he started a while ago, probably about a year and a half ago. We'd seen some screenshots, and he kind of explained that his design of the game kind of went into a corner that he couldn't get out of. Like the game design did not fit a good playing game. So now he's kind of like revisiting the whole idea and at the same time redoing the graphics. But his graphic work in here has just been fantastic.
I'd hire him. Wow.
I think he had some other ones here in the comments too.
Yeah.
He was showing some of the alternate color sets.
Yeah, there we go.
So you're seeing the exact same shape tables there, but then he has his in hell version, you know, when you're getting to a later level, kind of like in Doom or something like that. But just changing the palette makes it look quite a bit different, even though it's technically the exact same shapes.
Same image. Yep.
Yeah. Definitely a good graphic artist for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
we have a troll in the chat room. Richard is now he's trolling while driving.
Troll number 2.
Anyway,
He should just
He'll
join
never be number
voice.
1.
He can drive while voicing.
No, we don't want Richard on here because no.
Oh, come on.
the show will go downhill.
I'm on it. It can't go any further.
Look at that Cocoa Pie logo.
I do have a newbie question.
Oh, good.
Sure. Well, actually, it's
yeah, you can kill my
we have
screen
more.
share.
This is kind of related to what you just showed there. What's the definition of a sprite?
Okay. Yeah, well, that's a good one. Hey, maybe we can have a
core dump
episode. Yeah, just to make it sound official.
If you want to flush out that graphic for us there, Grant, we'll make this a core dump.
Ooh,
we'll make this a core dump.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have a soundboard, so I can't do the flush in the toilet. But if you want to go run to the toilet real quick and flush it while you can.
Oh, can you put the graphic up at least? Or
all right, here.
The intro?
Yes,
okay, here we go. Core dump.
Yeah, there's the very end.
That's the very end.
There we go.
All right. Well, that was Brian asking the question, was it, before?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So Brian asked, what is a sprite? He's been hearing this, the term sprite, and with Hugo's new game, of course, he's been developing the sprite graphics. But yeah, what is a sprite, I guess? A sprite is a movable object. You have, for example, in a game, you'll have your background, or whatever the graphics are, and then the objects that move in front of that background, whether it be a laser base or a character walking on the screen, is independent of the background. Now, there are some computers like, say, the Commodore 64, which has sprites built in as part of the hardware. So in other words, you can define a sprite character stored in memory somewhere, and the sprite only has to be a small matrix. It's not an entire bitmap like the background itself. It's a small area of memory which stores just the bytes used in that character. And so it's stored somewhere, and then it has registers which specify whereabouts on the screen the video chip in that computer will overlay that sprite, completely independent of what's in the background. So the sprite can move around without affecting the background at all. The color computer doesn't have hardware sprites. It only has the background graphics, the bitmap screen. So if we want to create sprites or little movable objects on the screen, we have to use software techniques, techniques whereby in software you need to store the background and plot the little sprite on the screen, and then likewise when it moves we have to restore the background to then move the sprite. So there's a bit more work to do that on the color computer. The advantages the color computer has when doing software sprites is that you're not restricted to whatever hardware restrictions the hardware sprites have. Like on the Commodore 64, I can't remember, but I think it's you can only have 4 colors in a sprite. On some other computers with hardware sprites, you can only have 2 colors. So if you look at a lot of older games on some computers, the sprites are just one color, for example. They're pretty dull looking. On the color computer, you can have, well, you've got no hardware sprite, so everything can be drawn in the full 16 colors. So really, if you create good sprite routines, you can have very colorful sprites on the screen. There have been some techniques that programmers have come up with to create sprites that don't take up so much CPU time. Things like the compile sprites techniques that a few people have talked about to speed it up, to make up for the fact that the sprites are not hardware in hardware like on the 64 or
Atari.
some of the
Atari
Spectra Video. Yeah, that's right. I mean, having it in hardware is quicker because the CPU is not involved in creating the sprites. It's all part of the video chip. So that's the advantage. But, with good software and the fact we've got a 6809 and all that, you can come up with some pretty good sprite graphic routines. Computers like the Apple II, they never had sprites either, and there's heaps of games for that. So, yeah. Good software can get around, and modern computers that we have nowadays, I don't think they probably have got some hardware sprites as well nowadays, where they've got all sorts of features now in the modern machines. But in saying that, the computers are so fast, you can create software sprites on modern machines because they're so fast. You can do your own software sprites. You don't need the hardware assisted stuff. But of course, the Coco only runs at 1.79 megahertz. So in software, it doesn't require good routines to be able to create sprites, and the number of sprites. You can create 1 or 2 sprites, but as you start adding more sprites, the graphics, is a bit more burden on the CPU. So Nick, the size of the sprites, all that sort of stuff, so that a programmer has to take into account, depending on the game as well,
Nick,
to get a good balance of it all. So that's basically, yeah.
Aren't you limited by memory?
Well,
or not anymore because
not really. Sprites are only small. They don't really use up a lot of memory. I think it's more CPU intensive on the color computer. If you don't have hardware sprites, then it's more CPU intensive. So hence the need to have very optimized routines. And I won't go into it, but there've been techniques about compile sprites and methods
versus masking manually.
Yeah, and all the masking and all the other stuff that has been traditionally done with creating software sprites. So there are techniques in there. But yeah, just getting back to what, the original question, what is a sprite? It's really just the movable objects that are placed in front of the background graphics. Does that explain it any very well, or?
Yes. No. Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, there's other aspects to the sprites apart from actually creating the sprites,
like collision detection
the
and
collision detection. That's right. So when one sprite hits another on a hardware system, usually there'll be a bit set somewhere. So if that bit 0, then there's no collision. But as soon as that bit, for example, is set to 1, then you've got a collision. Two sprites are actually touching each other or are being overlaid over each other. So that's handy. And in software on the color computer, we have to create our own type of collision detection within those same software routines. So again, various techniques will do that. Some techniques will check every single pixel being drawn by the pixel, so it gets a very pixel accurate collision. But and I've done this quite often. Sometimes you don't need pixel accurate collision. So you only have to just test for a couple of pixels, or even just sometimes the position of the sprites to see if they are over each other or just the positions are clashing with each other. And that's how it all depends on your routines, how much speed you need for your program. So yeah, you can do everything that the hardware sprites can do in software. The only problem is, of course, that the software ones do take up more CPU time. So yeah.
Well, just so I understand then, using Stevie's game as an example, would the laser and the ships, each one of those be a sprite that's moving around on the screen?
Yes.
And
In
then
essence, yes. That's right. He's doing sprites from within BASIC, I guess. So hence why I guess the game's not super fast and fluid because, well, it's all in BASIC. But it shows that you can, even in BASIC, create sprites, movable objects. You just have the trade-off of speed, of course.
And then we talk about a collision. It'd be like the laser hitting the ship.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So various techniques that you have to do, and then Steve's done a good job in creating the sprites and the collisions from within BASIC. So
Richard says Sprite is a Coca-Cola.
Well, yeah, that's
when you don't have Mountain Dew available. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have to say about it.
Thank you. I would say the same thing. I mean, hardware sprites are usually limited to the number of colors, how many sprites you can have active in the system at once, and the size of the sprites is usually limited on certain multiples of 16 or something. On the Coco, you're doing it slower because you're doing it all with bitmap graphics, kind of faking the hardware. But on the other hand, you have none of those limits. You can make as many sprites as you want, as long as you don't mind the frame rate dropping down. You can make the sprites any size you want, any number of colors.
Yeah, that's right. The faster the CPU, the less restrictions you have. You can make your sprites larger. You can make them more colorful if you've got enough CPU time. So the programmer just has to get a balance of how large to make the sprites and how many sprites versus the amount of CPU time you've got available. On hardware systems, those ones that have only, say, limited colors on the sprites. For example, I think a lot of the MSX machines have, I think the chip they used allowed for 32 independent hardware sprites. The problem is, of course, there can only be two colors, a foreground and a background color. One technique that they use to get more colors in a sprite is by overlaying hardware sprites. So they, for example, could get 4 hardware sprites all overlaid exactly on top of each other, but each of those 4 sprites have got their own set of colors. Yeah. So it looks like a nice colorful sprite, but in actual fact, there's, certainly more than one hardware sprite being used to create that multicolor sprite, or extra large sprite, just having sprites be next to each other can, double width characters. So, yeah.
Which Hugo actually showed when he was doing his tiles there, like he had some of his boss monsters are actually 4 of his software sprites.
Yes, that's right. So that's right. Yeah. So I guess he writes his routines to be a set a set size, say a 16
which means you
by
can optimize
16.
them a bit better because you're not.
That's right.
Adjusting
Exactly.
wildly. Yeah.
And then he just treats everything as if they are multiple sprites as a hardware system would, and just have them drawn by joining them together or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just add a bit on the compiled sprites versus the mask sprites. Like mask sprites basically read in the background image and then mix the pixels together. It's a fairly CPU intensive thing, but it means you can throw anything on top of anything else. But it's slower. Compiled sprite basically has a bit of intelligence to it because it actually is code, raw code. It's not a routine you call. It's the code, and it only draws the parts of the sprite that actually will light up on the screen because the sprite's a rectangular shape. Well, most of your shapes in a game aren't perfect rectangles. Like a spaceship, I might have a lot of blank space at the top at the point of the spaceship, and then a wide part on the bottom. Well, that means you don't have to draw all those blank bits, around the top part of the ship because there's nothing there. It's just the background. So a compiled sprite will just skip all that stuff and just draw each of the points individually with raw load stores and just put it on much quicker because it doesn't have to do masking and it doesn't have to draw stuff it doesn't need to draw. It is harder to program because you have to write all these little routines for each individual shape that you have in your game. And it takes a bit more code space too, compared to doing a general masking routine you can call with any sprite. But the speed up has been worth it. I mean, some of the fastest games in the Coco 3 have used that technique. I can think of stuff like Crystal City and Xenix as two excellent examples that are all compiled sprites.
Yeah, that's right. And also, I know when I used to write the software sprite routines, the method was to draw your sprites and have them stored somewhere in memory, and then when it was a matter of putting them up on the screen, I would read in the data from where the sprite's stored and then write it to where I want it to appear. So there's two operations there. There's read and write, whereas using compiled sprites, you're just writing all the time. You don't have to read any data because you've coded the data for that sprite. So you're just writing. So just doing that saves you a few cycles because you're eliminating the read cycle.
Yeah. So
compiled sprites are pretty well the fastest way to create software sprites on a color computer or any computer that has just a bitmap, no hardware sprites at all. So,
yep.
Cool. Now, is sprites different from a Coco 1 and 2 and 3? Can you do more
sprites?
No
difference at all. You've got the difference in the video chips. On the Gimme, you've got 16 colors. On the Coco 1 and 2, if you're a P mode 4, you've only got 2 colors, or a P mode 3, you only got 4 colors. So that doesn't really alter the sprites at all. It just it's the hardware restriction of how many colors and things you can use on for sprites, but the techniques are still the same. You can still do compile sprites, whatever you had to do on the Coco Computer 3, you still had to. It's the same on any bitmap machine for that matter.
Yeah, the only other difference is, of course, Coco 3 is not twice as fast of a CPU as the Coco 1 and 2.
That's right. Coco 3 is a 1.79 megahertz, whereas the Coco 1 and 2 is a 0.89 or something. Yeah. But that's CPU. That's again a separate thing. If the Coco 3 was only 0.89 as well, then it's exactly the same.
The one other thing I'll throw in, it's not technically part of the sprite, but you can use it for some sprite animation stuff that you don't have in the Coco 1 2. You do have in the Coco 3 is being able to switch the palette registers. So if you have a flame of a spaceship in 3 colors, you can rotate them through, and it'll animate the flame with just taking one store, no matter how many pixels big your flame is, or how many graphic images are using flames. You might have like 10 alien ships all with moving flames, and you can do that with simple palette animation, even in BASIC. So you can do some animations even in BASIC on the Coco 3 that look a lot more advanced and are a lot quicker than a Coco 1 and 2 because you're not literally redrawing everything. You're just flipping palette registers. I know I did way back when I tried to do a sort of a basic pole position game on H-Screen 2 or 3 or whatever the heck it is on the Coco 3, and I actually animated the red and white stripes on the side just using palette register switching. So it was actually I drew little chunks, and then I set 2 in a row to white and 2 in a row to red, and then rotate those 4 colors through, and then it looks like your track's moving. I'm not redrawing a darn thing. It's just changing the palette
No.
register.
No, that's right. Palette animation though, if it's used properly, can look quite good. I mean, they used it on Popstar Pilot, that intro screen where you got that blue checkerboard background that looks like it's a separate background. 2-layer graphics scrolling in the background. Well, nothing's moving at all there. It's just the palette being changed at the right time. And the entire background is color 0, so it's one color.
It's a trick.
It's a trick. That's right.
Your water sequence too, and your moving bars in level 4 Popstar.
They're all those. They're tricks, and a lot of the tricks, like in Sockmaster's bouncing ball demos. That looks like a huge sprite, of course, bouncing on this colored background. But that one's all smoke and mirrors. There's nothing moving there at all.
Really?
So no, nothing. No, I
thought that
2-layer
was
graphics.
What?
No, it's like any magician, I mean, the magic isn't real. It's just how you can create that illusion. It's all magic. It's smoke and mirrors. Yeah.
Do you know how many people you just?
So who uses sprites the best?
Sorry.
Like Apples or Ataris? Who uses
Apples are
sprites
done the same
best?
way, and it's just all straight.
Yeah, it's all the same. So really, which CPU is faster and which computer can do more colors, I guess. I mean, that's separate to being able to create sprites. Obviously, if you've only got 2 colors available, the sprites are going to look a lot more boring than one that's got 256 colors, for example.
Yeah. Now, Mark and Ron, you both were saying something there, so we'll just take turns there. Ron, what was your comment?
I can't remember now. Oh, just that, I'm not a programmer, so to find out that, some of the stuff is like tricks, mirrors, and, it's kind of amazing.
It's like Santa Claus isn't real. I mean, what a shock.
What?
He's not
This whole world is shattered.
Yeah.
Basically, the scheme is that you use whatever hardware tricks on whatever platform you're on.
That's right.
So you use sprite hardware with multi-layer sprites to get multiple colors if the sprites only support 2 colors, like Nick said. You would use palette switching on the Coco 3 to animate stuff, all kinds of things. So go ahead, Ron.
They're flipping. The background is just moving because of flipping instead of.
It's apparent motion.
You're doing a switching. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just switching which palettes are set to what as it's scrolling down the screen, which line it's on.
Watching water ripple.
I can't remember what the technique's called, but like they use the lights where they sequence like 5 lights in a row, and then they go back to the first one. And if you have a continuous string of them, it looks like they're all moving along. But they're not.
Like Rick is demonstrating on his LED stuff. Yeah.
Yes, like Rick's LED stuff. Yeah. I was just saying that you just totally ruined a whole bunch of people's day. They just not nearly as cool as it is. Yeah, just like Santa Claus.
Well,
and stuff.
For a programmer. Sorry.
Remember that?
I don't know, Jason was saying something, but for a programmer, that's the fun about programming something. That's where you get something that is not possible, and trying to find out these little illusions or ways of creating illusions to make the impossible look possible. That's the fun. I mean, if it was possible, if the hardware had features that did this already, well, what's the fun in that? Big deal. But to get something and make it look like it's possible when it's not, that's the challenge. It's people love to see these sort of this magic happening, and programmers love it for their ego. It's just great. Look what I did.
And there's a ton of these you can do. I mean, like one trick I used to use in basic games, like there's a couple ways you can animate to make it look smooth. Like you're not getting that flicker where you're blanking out where your sprite is going, and then you redraw it and you get this flickering on off. It's like a haze. You can use page flipping where you draw everything on the second one. That's what Steve's using in Cosmic Aliens, where he's basically doing it off screen. Another trick I use is I would have my get put shape if I'm moving a ship on the bottom of the screen, say left and right. Well, rather than having to wipe out the ship and then redraw it and then wipe out the ship and redraw it, I just have my get put buffers wider than the actual shape is. And I have blank on both sides, and I restrict the movement so you can't get right to the edge of each side of the screen, which the player barely notices anyway. And then when you redraw it, as long as you have enough blank space on each side that matches the amount of pixels you're moving, like say I'm moving 4 pixels at a time, I would have 4 blank pixels on each side as part of the get put buffer. Then I just put. If I want to move left, I just put it left 4 pixels. I don't have to erase anything, nothing. I just overdraw it. And that's fast enough and flicker free enough that it looks like it's moving smoothly. And I'm not taking extra memory, getting a buffer and then putting it back or redrawing the background. I'm not doing any of that. I just draw over top every time.
So
And
you're moving the pointer. You're moving the pointer to what shows up on the screen, and to the pointer.
Yeah, just changing the XY position. Just put.
You're effectively just writing. You're not reading anything.
It's kind of like
again.
compiled sprites, like you were mentioning. You're just writing the parts you need.
Just writing.
You don't have to redraw
depends
the
on the
entire
background.
Yeah.
If you don't, if you have a detailed background that has to stay static, though, then that's a bit more complicated.
Yeah, that's where I wrote games that were more suited for the hardware. I would just make sure my game didn't have any background in that area where your player ship is, and then nobody notices that it just looks faster and smoother.
Yeah.
So this is techniques and things that came later by experience, rather than looking in the book and saying you can do this to make that look like you're saying.
Well, the book, most books, like if you're reading an assembly language book, they don't really talk about the techniques. They tell you about how to program, how to use
what the command can do,
or what command. Yeah, exactly. But the techniques, there really isn't a book, anything that talks about techniques as such that I'm aware of.
There are a few, but they were labeled as color computer graphics or something like that. Where they
they're very basic stuff, but you sort of learn those things or you discover them as time goes on.
But it's nothing written. It's all something that experience gives you.
Oh, well,
or you talk to somebody else, right?
Yeah, you either talk or someone may have a wiki that explains it. I mean,
or magazine articles.
I know there is a good wiki about the compile sprites. I forget who it was that put it up, but those sort of things.
The guy who did the Pac-Man transcode, he had his.
Yes, that's right. What's his name? Glenn. Yeah, he has a very good description on the compile sprites for anyone who wants to understand it more.
So we're seeing Steve, pretty much his progression of how he went is pretty much how.
Yeah.
You know, somebody goes from, I didn't know you can do that. Or, I didn't know.
Well, Steve's a good example. I mean, he's got the sprites there in BASIC. And of course, when you're erasing and redrawing in BASIC, that's going to flicker like crazy. And that's what he had at the very beginning.
Right.
That then led to, okay, there must be a better way to do it. And he knows that there's double buffering is used a lot in machine language games. So how can I do double buffering in BASIC? And he's got a double buffering technique in BASIC.
And his game is pretty well flicker free. I mean, it's still slow because it's BASIC, but he's eliminated.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
How about that other guy with the cats game? Did he benefit too from?
Yeah. Well, he came on. He had those problems originally with all the flicker, and he came onto the core dump episode. We discussed a few ideas, and he went away and he got it fixed. And it's working quite well. So there's always a way. That's the beauty of computers. There isn't just one way to do things. There are various techniques and stuff that you can do, depending on what it is you're trying to do. It can vary. So that's where the fun of programming is, finding a solution to a problem in the best way you can, whether it be faster or whether it be easier or whatever. That's a challenge. It's like doing a puzzle.
It's like art. Right. There's no wrong way to do it, but there are slightly better and better ways for your personal use.
Exactly. It's like doing a puzzle. People who do I can't stand crossword puzzles, but people who love crosswords have got the patience to sit there and nut it all out. Yeah, that's the same skill.
But you know what? It seems to me like experience accounts for a whole lot.
Oh, it does. I've often said that programming is programming games is an evolutionary thing. You write one game and it's totally crap. The first one is bad. It'll flicker, it'll be slow, but that's normal. Okay, you then go from that and you say, okay, what's bad about it? Let's see if we can find out a method whereby we can improve on it. So the next game will be better. and the next one after that will be better. It's just as you progress, you are getting better.
Yeah, that's why Popstar Pilot's like the 10th iteration of.
Well, that's right. I mean, that's right. But you can't stop and say, "Oh, gee, Popstar Pilot, what a great game! That Nick's a genius."
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, that's the ultimate. You can never beat that. Yeah,
that's right. Well, it has taken me damn 30 years to do that, and there's still room for more. You know, I mean, some of the stuff that I see Sockmaster doing, you know, still blows my mind. So there's always room for improvement.
Really makes me want to jump into a 30-year thing.
Plus, you try to bite off as much as you can choose. Like my first few games that I did internally here back in the early 80s were adventure games because they weren't speed dependent, and I didn't know how to do fast graphics. But I did use graphics, and I did come up with what I thought at the time were innovative routines. Like an adventure game usually is a bunch of strings in an array. Like here's a description of room 5, and another part of the array tells you that room 5 you can go north here and you can go east here and you can't go any other direction. Well, I decided to make a graphic version of that. And I just made a second string. So I had the room description saying you're in a blue room with rocks on the floor or something like that. And then I would actually have the draw statement string as a second part of that string. And it would actually draw a little representation on the screen, which for, at the time I thought, well, this is really innovative because it was a way to add graphics to an adventure game without having to do much extra coding at all. I just was draw that string on the screen and it kind of all linked up to the rooms automatically. So it was easy to add to.
They were in the same spots in the array, so whatever your indicator is.
Yeah. So it just drew it instantly. So that was kind of a nice thing, and I quite liked that. I thought it was quite innovative.
But there's always things to learn, better ways of doing things, new tricks that are just around the corner that light up a light bulb in your head, and then away you go.
And that's the rush you get programming when you've been pounding your head against the wall trying to get something to work.
Right.
And then you go off and you do something else for a week or two because you're just getting frustrated, and all of a sudden just bang out of nowhere. Oh, wait, I could try this.
That's right.
Try it, and then it, all of a sudden your game's doubled in speed or something, or the flicker's gone, or whatever the case may be.
You talk to somebody and they say something, and they go, "Oh yeah, have you tried this?"
Well, not even that. Sometimes it just comes on your own. You just
sometimes
you step away from it, and all of a sudden your brain kicks in. It's strange.
Well, you spend so much time trying to solve a problem that you're so focused in on this, trying to solve this problem. Your head's not in a space whereby it's looking out of the box. You're just stuck in the box, and you just can't get an answer. So it's happened to me many times. I'll say, okay, shut down, go to sleep. In the morning, by the time I wake up, I don't know what it is. Have I been dreaming about the problem? Because I wake up and I say, oh, why don't I just do that? Bang, there's the solution.
Yep.
Where did that come from?
That is exactly what happens.
Well, that
you bang your head so long.
Too,
yeah.
You
get yourself stuck in a rut for so long if you're stuck on the same thing.
You get stuck in that box, and then all of a sudden you find out I should have been in a rectangle, not a box.
Yes. So
do you guys ever go and look at other programs that have been written that are similar and try to take it apart a little bit and look at it and figure it out, or is this all something you just sit?
Some people do. I've never really pulled apart anyone else's programs. I look at the end result. And I just try to nut it out my own way. Other people do pull other people's code apart, but I've never been into that. I've always preferred to try work it out myself, so I understand it fully.
Whereas I'm more the opposite, probably because of Nitrous 9, because we're trying to we disassembled the entire operating system and all the third-party drivers, et cetera, and then started recoding it for a new chip. So I mean, we did a lot of the ripping people's stuff apart, and sometimes we'd go, "Oh wow, that's a neat technique. I never thought of that." Yeah. And then you start incorporating your own code after that. And then in other cases, you'd be taking a look and go, oh, I already know a better way of doing that than this guy did. So I'll add that in as a speed up while I'm optimizing it for the 6309. So I've done both.
Yeah.
Now, does Sprite work the same in OS 9 and Nitrous 9?
Well, it depends on how you're doing it. If you're doing it through quote unquote legal display codes, it's just like running get put buffers. Now, we have optimized those in Nitrous 9 so they're faster than disk basics by quite a large margin. So you can do more sprites, software sprites in Basic 09 than you can under Disk Basic. Machine language wise, it would be the same way you're doing with Nix and stuff. You would just map the screen in and start drawing it directly. which is what like stuff like Thexter does, or Shanghai, or Smash, or a few of the other games for OS9.
Cool. Brian, did I
Probably
answer
more
your question?
than you needed.
Have
No,
we beat this to death?
No, it's very interesting though. Very interesting how it all kind of comes together, because a lot of times we're just enjoying the end result of your labors, and it's kind of interesting to like use the example of like a magician, to go be able to stand behind the stage and see how the magic is done. Yeah, very good.
I think one thing that came up during this discussion that we haven't really talked about is what motivates a programmer. And there's two main motivations that I have. Nick, you can add to this if I've not covered something. But the main motivation for me is to get that feedback from the public if they really like what you're doing, or sometimes even if they're dissing you or whatever, or giving you suggestions for improvements. And then the other thing is those rushes you get when you have a problem that you just can't solve for a few days, and you come back to it a week later, and all of a sudden, bang, you solved it. And those are the two biggest rushes I get from programming. I don't know. Is that the same with you, Nick, or do you have other ones that also?
Oh, mine is solely ego and all the money, I
have stuff like that when I do my artwork.
Don't forget the Ferraris. Ferraris are important.
Somebody gives me a challenge to do something. You'll sit there and think about how you might want to do it, and you get started on it, and then maybe it just doesn't look that well, and you're not motivated much. So it's better to put it down and go back to it. When you go back to it, you just carry on, and you have ideas, and things come to you better. It happens like that with me.
Yeah, I know it. The old company I used to work at, we had a programming department, we had a pre-press department, and the pre-press department was considered to be the artistic side, and we were the engineering style side. I don't view programming as a strictly engineering. I view it as a mix of art and engineering. You have to have a lot of technical knowledge, yes, but there is an artistic side. Like you said, you can program things 15 ways from Sunday, and what might work for you might not work for the next person. But there is an artistic side where you're interpreting how to get this computer to do something you want in a way that you came up with. It doesn't have to be the same as, say, Steve Bjork's or Nick's or Sockmaster's. You can still accomplish the same thing, but in such a myriad of ways that it is an artistic endeavor. It's not just an engineering endeavor. And I think some people lose sight of that and just think, you have to, learn all about the chips inside and out and all this kind of stuff, which you do have to do some of that too. There is some engineering aspects to it, but there is an artistic side that I think a lot of people don't mention.
No, it is both.
Don't you think the 8-bit machines we have are lean more toward that rather than, a large computer with unlimited memory and all the help you need?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I mean, I think you adapt the artistry to the platform you're on. So if you're running on a modern 3 gigahertz machine with hardware 3D acceleration, your creativity shifts to what graphics are you drawing and what is the plot of the game and that kind of thing. You're still having an artistic side. It may not be as much on the programming side.
You're still going to push limits with that architecture.
Yeah.
You're going to do more than, or what you think you can do more than.
I mean, your starting point is a lot higher on those machines.
Yeah.
Because you've got 3D texture mapping and ray tracing and everything else that you can do all kinds of fancy stuff you wouldn't even try to do in an 8-bit. But
now the latest frontier is, of course, all the VR stuff on the modern stuff.
Yeah. So your starting point is way higher with these higher platforms, but the creativity of how you can use these, baseline stuff that's way higher changes, so that you're being artistic at that level, not down on the, how do I draw a pixel on the screen or how do I draw a sprite? But they both have artistry. It just shifts where your artistry is focused on in that particular game. You're not worried about the low level, how do I draw a sprite on the screen? You're worried about how can I get a nice explosion effect with refracting light on all the debris that's flying around type thing while the camera's spinning or something. Your artistry just goes into different parts of the game.
The artistry side of things is what really motivates me a lot initially to get me going. I mean, I remember back in the day when I was a kid, I'd go to the arcades, not to play games, but to watch other people play games, because I used to love just watching all the graphics and all the animation on the screen. If you're playing it, I'm concentrating on my own survival on the game. But if you sit back and watch other people play it, then you can appreciate all the rest of the graphics, and that's what grabbed me. Creating that entire artistic presentation, I guess. It's almost like a movie. I've often used to say that writing a game is like creating a movie. except that it's a movie that you control. You've got a joystick and you decide whether you'll go left or go right, or whether who you shoot and all that. It's almost like a movie. There is a plot to it as well. So yeah, I tend to look at it as artistry, I guess, looking at the whole movie, the finished movie.
I totally agree. And the other thing you get when you're watching somebody else plays, you get to watch stuff like Stevie Rage Quit, which is just amusing.
That's right. It's the human interaction as well that's interesting.
Yeah, that's the movie that went off the rails.
Well, and Ken makes
that's right.
Ken makes a good point. Where was it? In the chat here. Typing basic programs out of the rainbow back in the day could teach a lot without even noticing it. I think he's
that's true.
There.
I know the first time I ever saw like the micro or the extended basic manual did not mention the fact that put in standard color basic in the Coco 1 and 2 actually had a fast put option. If you didn't use G, you could actually put it as a block copy as opposed to individual pixel masking. And literally on large wide shapes, it could be literally 10 to 20 times faster. And if you just followed the manual strictly, you wouldn't know that even existed.
No.
And then Rainbow published an article, and I wish I'll have to find it at some point because I did want to make that as part of the basic series with Stevie. But I had a little UFO. It was kind of an oval white outline with orange in the middle as a P-Mode 4 artifact and graphic. And it was probably, 32 pixels wide or 40 or 50 or something. It was a fairly large shape. And they drew it with the standard get put, and you can watch it kind of ripple across as it's going up the screen and then going diagonally up in a corner. And it took like 20 seconds to get it up under the top. Then they did it with the fast put option, which is undocumented in the original manuals. And it took literally 4 seconds to do the exact same thing. And it was way faster, way smoother, less flicker, no ripple. So that kind of stuff you'd learn from magazines, or nowadays you'd probably find on somebody's blog or wiki page or something. But yeah, there's still stuff you can learn.
Yeah.
Or somebody like James takes it apart and figures it out and then figures out how to improve it. Catches the basic.
Right. Have we blown this out of the water now?
It's like sprites to programming principles and the fact that it's an actual artistic endeavor, not just an engineering endeavor, which I think is a good point.
Yeah. Well, it's a core dump episode, so we're meant to.
We can dump whatever we want.
Yeah, we can dump. All we're missing is the actual dump sound.
All right, let me go ahead and play a couple commercials here.
All
Be right back. So if we need to go take a break, go right ahead.
Where's the rum?
Oh, gotta love that E2.
Imagine a different world. A world where Tandy Corporation has the upper hand. Where the Coco surpassed all competitors. And all you have to do is travel back in time without making a single mistake.
Coco forever.
How does it feel? I'm still believing.
You definitely earned this office.
Yes, you're too kind, and thank you.
You want to grab some food before we head back and look at that Alt Reality OS9 module?
It's only 40 years past due, but yeah, sure.
How does it feel? I'm still believing.
Switcheroo. Use your Coco with a modern display. Go from RGB to composite with just the flip of a switch. CoCo3ScartCable.com.
All right.
This is for you, David. We love you.
Oh no, not again!
The copyright ding.
Sorry, I couldn't hit the button quick enough.
There's medicine for that.
Mark, are you able to screen share that cartoon you put in Discord? Because that's a perfect summary of how debugging sometimes works.
Sure. One moment.
We were kind of discussing that earlier too, so I think Nick would get a good kick out of it.
I saw that. I saw that on Facebook. Somebody posted it up on Facebook. It was great.
Do you need a screen share?
Yeah, one moment.
Mark?
Let me get it loaded in my browser first.
All right,
Yeah, it's a 4-panel cartoon that perfectly describes how debugging works.
Okay, let's see.
No matter what language you're doing it in.
Jason, don't run that red light.
It's green.
That working?
No, I can see, but you just covered it up
we
with
can see it.
chat.
Yeah, you just covered it up with
Did I?
your
Did I?
Zoom chat.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, there you are.
So your brain and you talking at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Yes, now shut up.
That happens so
I
often in
reckon
real
that
life.
does. Yep.
Those OCD
You
people.
want to read out the audio version?
What's
It's,
that? Go ahead, Mark.
If anybody wants to see it, I posted it in software dev on Discord, so you can follow the.
All right.
Yeah. For the audio listeners, I'll kind of describe it. It's got a picture of the person's brain talking to the person. The person's in bed trying to get to sleep at 3 a.m, whatever. Brain goes, "Hey, are you sleeping?" And yes, please shut up now. And then goes, "I know how to fix that bug on line 255." And then, of course, now the person's wide awake because they might forget it by morning, so they better go do it right now, no matter what time it is. And that describes it perfectly.
Yeah, her eyes are bugging out.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Okay, how do I get my thing back so I can stop screen sharing now?
I think at the very top of the screen you should have a stop sharing.
Oh, right. Yeah, there's I think, a pull down or something. So, no, I got a floating window. So,
Mark, you haven't learned to hit the buttons just right yet.
That's what she said.
No, we're all still trying to learn Skype.
Okay.
One of those 2-layer windows.
Oh, Jim's trolling now. It's me.
Okay, there's the Skype chat. Okay, sorry. Yeah, my window totally disappeared. I mean, my Zoom window went away. I have like a floating window, but I don't.
Yeah, I had the same issue with mine.
Normally I have a big window. Now I have a little window, and it doesn't have hardly any controls. Well, I know one way I can do it. I can just kill the stupid thing. Maybe. Oh, it's floating over. I got it's on my other monitor. That's why. There's stop share. There we go.
All right.
Hey,
we're back.
Just
all right, cool. Did anybody else have anything else they want to share this today? Or have we beat this one to death?
I'll keep an eye out for Nick's blog. He's doing an update here sometime this week, hopefully.
Yeah,
I posted a link earlier when he was mentioning it in the acquisition projects.
Oh, Ron, you're muted.
Okay, have you guys ever heard the Brandenburg concerto or whatever they call it on the Coco 3?
Oh, is this going to be a Ron's Garage?
We do it. You want to run the thing?
Yeah, let me run
It's
it.
a
Let's make this a
professional
professional
show, yeah.
as Stevie always says.
I start now.
There you go. We got Ron's Garage up now.
Oh, that's it.
Oh,
Okay.
it's already up.
Here we go. This is the Coco SDC Media Player version 0.2.
That's Ed Snyder's, right?
Yes, and I have it hooked up to my card.
Oh, hold on here. Back up here. What is this?
The Coco SDC Media Player.
With the Brandenburg concerto.
Basically MP3s that are redone into CSM file.
Yeah. CSM is a custom format that Ed came up that uses the new streaming feature in the SDC where you can tell the SDC, you just start sending me data and I'll just throw it to whatever graphics or sound port or whatever. So it can do it at really high speed.
Where do we get this
Sorry,
at?
was that, Grant?
Where do we get this at?
Yeah.
I have the link. I can post it. But yeah, if you have a Coco PSG and a Coco SDC, then you can.
You're all set. Yep, and I have the Orchestra CC card.
Oh, nice.
And it's plugged in
stereo
to a iHome, audio system. And here we go.
Oh baby, let it rock.
Was that it?
I don't like a toilet flush.
Amazing.
Can you hear it?
Nope.
Oh, you couldn't because it's the sound. Hang on.
So that's not an MP3. That's probably from a WAV or something.
Well, he converts it to a native format
MP3.
that's meant to stream on the SDC.
It's an MP3. And he has a converter. You can convert it. But anyways, there it is.
The final result's not an MP3 because that's way too expensive.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
It plays video. I have a video on there, and it does. They have the whole Coco Crew podcast on it.
Yeah, the big advantage of his player versus the play command I did for Nitrous 9 is that oh crap.
Nice shirt.
Yeah, it's the Pride Coco
Look,
shirt.
Sprite. Animal cracker.
You're taking a bite out of
I'm
it.
hungry for an animal cracker.
Yeah, so it's really cool. Stuff we never thought we'd ever do on our little Coco.
On our little Coco.
Sorry about that. I had to wait for the phone to answer. I was going to mention that Ed's has the advantage. He's using the streaming feature in the SDC. So basically, he tells the SDC, you can take a file that's a gig long or multiple megabytes, and you stream it a byte at a time to me, and I'll deal with it as if it's a video, if it's sound or whatever. And it just continuously runs at a high speed. The play command I did actually loads it into the Coco's RAM as one solid file that it then plays directly from. So I'm much more limited on the size. But basically, you use the same style technique for playing. Like in the case of the CoCoTALK theme song I did there, it's a 1.8 meg WAV file, and it just basically dumps that out to the port at 11 kilohertz.
Cool.
God, I want 44 kilohertz.
Jim from Retro Innovations just said CoCoTALK, where people can talk for hours on sprites but can't use a new computer.
That's for sure.
Hey, Mark, what's this? Was it Ubuntu?
What?
MAME?
Yeah, MAME. But what's this UBTube that you're talking about? Or whatever it is. Ubuntu.
Oh. Are you serious? That's my first question.
It's Ubuntu, you dingleberry.
It's only probably one of the most popular Linux distributions around.
I don't use Linux, so I have no
That's
idea
a
what that
personal
is. Thanks. Real men use Windows.
Yeah, I use Windows 8 at work,
no.
and I curse it every day.
I
also use the Mac and
I think
Linux.
Steve isn't here.
And do you have an MC10 holding that window up?
No, I have some. I have ZX81s for that.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't that be a Sinclair?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
ZX80 or ZX81, either one will work. Depends what color you're trying to match with your Windows sill.
Yeah, I really should have the CX80 because all my windows are white.
Hey, Ron, what you should do is while you're playing those sound files, you should have the audio spectrum analyzer on your Coco One there next to it playing.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that'd be quite kind of cool.
Yeah.
Kind of like Coco Sound Inception at that point.
on my
there's the real thing.
Should just have Ed build the Spectrum analyzer right into his player.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
Actually,
I don't know how
like-
much CPU time he's got left because I can't remember what sampling rate he's using on his. I mean, the WAV file player I've got can play a 44 kilohertz WAV file. Now, mind you, those take a lot more memory, so they're, you can't have as long of a sample. That's one of the reasons I use 11 kilohertz was to fit the entire thing into 2 meg. And if you're doing stereo, of course, that takes more too. And the player does support stereo. In fact, that I recorded that particular thing in mono just to fit it in 2 meg, but it does support 8 bits. So if you have the Orchestra 90 card installed and you run play with the -O option, it actually will convert from 6 to 8-bit samples. So it plays a little bit better quality.
Yep. Neat.
Cool.
Anything else?
All right. Have we beat this one?
How
to
many
death?
people are watching us on YouTube at the moment?
25.
I feel sorry for them.
Wow. 25 people. Hey, David, we need some floppy talk. You wanna
That'll
talk
get
some
rid of them.
That'll go.
No, I don't have anything interesting right now. Not until I can start getting back in the rhythm of working on Coco stuff.
Hey, look, the numbers just climbed.
I actually went and checked.
Say that again, David. We want to double the numbers. No, I don't have anything to say. Well, here they come.
Cool.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and run one more commercial here, and then we will go ahead and wrap this show up then.
It's a wrap.
And Jim will be happy.
Right? We'll be. No. We're going to make this an extra long outro today, just for Jim.
And Jim's never happy, so.
Hold on. Here we go. No, he's not.
We will return after these messages.
This is for you again, David.
But I can't hear it.
Introducing a computer that can change the way
Well,
you
David,
work.
you're famous.
The new Tandy 1000, complete with desk-mate
God.
software for easy-to-use word processing, filing,
I don't think I've ever seen this
working,
commercial.
scheduling, communication. Brought to you by Tandy, clearly superior for service.
I was so
support,
excited
and
when I
software.
played that Brandon
The
Burke
Tandy
thing.
1000,
I tried to get my
available
wife
at
to
Radio
listen
Shack
to this,
computer
listen to
centers, and
She goes, yeah,
so
that's
affordable.
so.
Tandy technology,
So,
service,
with that
support,
commercial, I was just waiting for him to rage quit and turn into the Hulk.
Yeah.
Bill Big.
No, not it.
Uh-oh.
All right, we're back. For some reason, we have a little delay. When I push the button, it doesn't stop.
Your computer's not fast
All right,
enough.
guys.
Hey, I don't suppose Jim Brain can come on and tell us the current status of his dual CPU cartridge or his mem board or whatever. I don't know if he's listening right now, and just jump on and
He's lurking.
give
in
us
the
an update.
chat.
He's lurking in the chat. Jim, can you come and join us and give us an update, or we'll see if he joins?
I'm
here in
hoping
a
once I'm
second.
out of my work rush season, which unfortunately got extended this weekend, that I can actually start helping do some driver code for that stuff too.
Well, that's good because I need your help too.
On what?
You know what?
Uh-oh.
No, I don't
Oh,
actually.
boy.
And just as well.
That seems to be a problem. We don't have. I'm listening, just lurking.
I'll take that as a no.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'd say that he's not able to join then. Darn it.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I do see that's a problem. We have a lot of hardware, but we don't have enough people making programs for it. So
It will come. If you build it, they will come.
Build it and they will come.
Okay, Jim just said he can't get in voice right now. He'll have to chat about it another time, so that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap it up here. Anybody have any parting thoughts or anything they would like to say before we end
Certainly.
Okay, David, go right ahead.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and I hope you've learned something educational from our discussions today, and we hope to see you next time.
And we hope that Dave can turn his mic down just a little bit.
Yeah, my eardrums are bleeding now. Stevie's back. He says, you guys are still talking. Yep, we still keep on going. We're just like the Energy Bunny. Keep going and going and going.
This show
I'm sorry,
is a
Ron,
work
what'd you
of
say?
art.
Yeah, it's pretty abstract, but yeah, sure.
It's made up of artists.
Look at all the colors.
Yeah, our show is a work of art, like elephants blowing paint in front of an airplane propeller onto a sheet of paper.
Well, we know what you watch on Facebook now, don't we?
Not YouTube, but yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like Picasso on drugs.
Yeah, I'm hoping if work dies down, it was supposed to start dying down this weekend. That didn't happen yet. Actually, it got busier for some stupid reason, but I'm still near the tail end of my rush season, so I'm hoping with the next 2 weeks that I'll. I know I said this last week too, that I'll be back onto getting more time to actually doing Coco stuff and start working on EOU again, because I do want to get a new release out in October. There's a couple major bug fixes I want to get in there. I want to get some extra features in there too. So
Sierra games would be nice.
That's in the planning stages. I kind of know what I have to do to fix that. So
what do you have to do to fix it? I just thought you just have to add it, don't you? Or...
I think I've kind of explained this before, but any of the games that are based on the VDG screen, the 32-column screen, the native windowing system in G Shell, for when it's launching an external program, doesn't have a clue that exists, and it has to set up a little bit differently to do that properly. So the way people had made it so you could launch those types of games on G Shell and Multiview before is they'd write a little preloader program for each individual game that would then change the window over to a VDG screen and then run it from there. But you had to customize it for every single one. So if you had 20 Sierra games, you had to write 20 little loader programs. And if you wanted to do Fractalus and Coronis, you had to make loader programs for those. And it's a pain in the butt. And I want to change G Shell so that you can just tell it in the little AIF file, the little thing you edit with a text editor, to link an icon and where to run it from and all that kind of stuff. I want it so that G Shell can natively handle those. And that's what I'm going to be working on, so it'll just be easy. You won't have to write these stupid little preloader programs anymore.
Ease of use.
So these games do work, because I don't know if you've got it in your EOU, but you've got to go.
But you've got to set up the screen right, the directories right, and that's not ease of use.
That's right. You're trying to make it so G Shell just click on an icon and away it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Right.
All that black magic.
Black magic. Everything's magic.
All the engineering crap to make it look artistry, so you can just double click and run. Yeah.
So smoke and mirrors.
And are you going to be able to help Jim Breen with the Coco Flash project as well too?
You have to refresh my memory. What was the issue there? I don't even remember.
Make it easier to add and remove ROMs to the Coco Flash.
Okay. Is there existing software
right,
somebody's
David?
done? Or?
Am I explaining that correctly?
Sounds like there needs to be an ease of use utility.
Yeah, because right now it is definitely not ease of use.
Okay.
there is a utility that's set for certain things, but not everything.
Right. It's not. I mean, it's a project just to add and remove things to the Coco Flash, and I know that David and I have been working on it, and we definitely need some help.
Oh, is that the project that David was talking about? Oh, okay.
Correct. Well, that might be.
No,
I don't know if that's the same
it's
one.
not.
But that's one that.
Oh.
It's related to timeout routines.
Oh, your DriveWire stuff.
Yes.
Cool.
Apparently, I'm going to be busy when I'm off
right.
season here.
Yep. Well, there's not enough programmers. We need more programmers in this community. A lot of hardware, but not enough programmers.
Yeah, literally, that's a complete flip from 10, 20 years ago, where we had tons of software coming up, but no new hardware. or very very little new hardware.
Well, you can ask Curtis. I can do some stuff. It's just that my brain's just missing something on my situation. So,
was that plural? Brains? Did you say two?
We've always thought that, but we just weren't quite sure. You've removed all doubt.
All right, cool. All right, anybody else have anything before I run the outro here? Brian, do you have anything you want to say before we close?
No, this has been a great show. Enjoyed it.
Don't forget the retro challenge. Follow all the people.
Yep, that's true. Deadline's the end of September, right?
Yep.
And we've got a few people participating already. I think, Mark, you're working on your network thing again, and then somebody else was doing an adventure game for the MC10.
Yeah, Davey Mitchell is working.
Do you want to explain to everybody what the retro challenge is?
Yeah, sure, since I'm involved. Yeah, basically, a guy from England, I can't remember his name right top of my head, I'd have to think about it, set up this retro challenge. Basically, take up doing something on retro gaming or retro computer equipment, at least 10 years old for arcade games or consoles, and pretty much any old computer like what we hang out with would qualify. It could be anything. It could be reorganizing your library, or backing up discs for storage on archive.org or whatever, or writing new software. And John Linville runs it now, has the website retrochallenge.org. And there's about 15 people, I think, that are working on various things. So Davey Mitchell's working on an adventure game in text. I'm working on my network game stuff. Brett had presented a couple of years ago. He wrote basically a global thermal nuclear war game that used IRC server to synchronize all the clients. Which was
so you had Coco playing a network game to up to 8 players or something like that, if I remember.
I think he had 4 in testing when I talked to him. So, and it was kind of, he said it was kind of tenuous to get it to work, and we continued, because of those lags with IRC and stuff. But anyway, yeah, I'd like to see him redo that and use a more dedicated server, see if you get a little bit better, time constraints.
And some of the stuff like Dave has been fiddling with for doing, network communication from a Coco directly, without needing a drive wire server. I'd like to see some stuff based on that as well.
Yes, that'd be another good one. Anyway, I'm just working on trying to do a basic network game. I've got network stuff for the Commodore 64 and Coco and the Apple II. So I'm trying to come up with something simple game and have at least 3 clients. So anyway.
Cool. Sounds like fun.
You'll probably never see me enter one of those, not because I'm doing retro stuff all the time, but I just don't have the time or patience to blog. And that's a requirement. Like Nick's good at it. He can write concise bits and explain everything he's doing. And I'm just busy hacking crap together and making a mess. So I just don't have time for that.
Mark, do you have a blog?
Yeah, I do. It's retrochallenge.markoberholzer.com. I can post a link in here. So. And there's some links on there to some of the others, including I have Davey Mitchell's Twitter. I don't think I have his blog on there yet, but I can do that. So on the left side of my Drupal site, there's some links to some of the other people, Brett's old one as well.
And there's a prize too. Like, this isn't just for show. You actually get something if you win.
Oh yeah, Matteo, who's in Italy, he won one of Stevie's DVD collections a couple of years ago.
A new car.
Donated by Nick from all of his pop star sales.
Excess Ferraris.
Ferraris.
Hey, I got a question. Can you control a keyboard with a color computer if it's MIDI?
Like a MIDI interface?
Yeah. You can even do that through the Bitbanger port.
Can you?
Ultimuse 3 will do that under Nitrous 9. And then what was Lyra, I think, has some MIDI support too for RSDOS. And there was a dedicated MIDI hardware card and software package for RSDOS as well. But there's multiple ways to do it.
Yeah, what I'm asking is, so basically it treats the keyboard as a chip? Or
Well, there's a MIDI protocol you send. It has to be at a certain odd baud rate. I think it's 31.25 kilobaud or something like that.
Okay.
And you just send MIDI commands to it. And what you can do depends on the synthesizer. There's some synths you can do a lot more stuff than you can with others.
I think there is MIDI support in DriveWire also.
Yes, there is.
And just talking about the retro challenge stuff, Diego Barizo just put a message on the Facebook page showing a short video of his retro challenge entry, that game he talked about last week, Hippo Teeth. So there's a video of that on Facebook now. And just a bit below that, Al Hartman, who's on the show here today, has also put up a diagram about the connections of a printer to through the serial connection as well that we were talking about before. So
yeah, if you go to my page, and at the top on the left it says Retro Challenge links. The second one down is the current entrance list, and you can then link to other people's
right, yep,
blog pages or their Twitter.
But what's the prize this round? I don't know, it changes every.
I don't think they have announced them yet, but
okay.
But you don't do it for the prize; you do it for the fame and notoriety.
No, but sometimes that little bit of extra incentive just to win some little retro bit of hardware or software, something kind of helps. And it eggs me in one.
It's a boomerang slathered in Vegemite.
Oh,
that's a boomerang you don't want to come back.
Yeah, right. Not coming back.
Yeah, we should all be working for the rewards we get at the Cocoa Fest.
Yes,
that's a neat thing.
Yeah.
cool. All right. Well, anybody else have anything on closing? Ron, did you have anything to say?
Promise. Yep, promise.
You're done. All right. We have beat this one to death.
About time.
All right. Here we go. Here's the outro.
Hi, this is Antonio Jimenez, author of such projects such as the CoCoTALK Devil and the SD Pack, and you're watching CoCoTALK. 3, 2, go.
I'm behind you making faces.
Okay. you have a script? You're rolling, Curtis. You say whatever the hell you want to say.
Well, give me some kind of guideline.
Hi, this is Curtis Boyle.
Hey, this is Eric, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
All right, we're rolling. You say whatever you want to say, David. Keep making faces at him.
Nation, world's leading weekly candy computer. Something like that.
Hi, I'm Tim. Playing Daggerith like that idiot from the book. You're watching CoCoTALK.
Thank you, David. Now get back up there for 1 second.
Oh, jeez.
Come on.
What?
Let's get some drive wire, TTL, ESP.
No, we don't need any drive wire or TTL. Hi, it's Curtis Boyle, part of the CoCoTALK crew of people.
Hi, we're on Elbow Timberman. To experience Cocoa Fest, you must come. Do you need this? I brought the only working MC10. I could not get. Autograph. By certain someone you know. Oh well.
The world's leading weekly CoCoTALK show. Yeah, something like that.
Hi, this is Rick Adams, and I'm the author of Temple of Brahm, Shanghai, and now Bomb Threat, and you're listening to CoCoTALK on CoCoTALK.
8-slot MPI, floppy drive, Coco SDC, Sound Speech Pack, Orchestra 90, RS-232 pack, modem pack, Super IDE. You start adding all those together if you want them all usable at the same time. Well, guess what? You just went over the 4-slot MPI. Gosh.
Just for you, David. Just for you.
I am going to strangle you.
Not me. This is what Stevie
It's
gave
on
me.
every week. We've been laughing at this for weeks.
Very true.
Well, I've been busy with some other stuff.
David, you need to come up with stuff.
All right, guys. I'm going to kill the stream here. See you guys next week.
Thanks for tuning in,
joining
everybody.
us.
Over. Bye, everybody.